All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the
I can
Romancing the
hear him.
Stones top four of our middle school league.
Yep,
And
I can hear him.
we've got Brian Hockey versus Mike Clements. And I think we've got an interesting match. And I'm here with Woodrow.
Hello, everybody. Yes, Mike Clements is on Armageddon Elves. So we've got a lot of fast mana from Priestess of Titania and a Guy's Cradle, which is a perfectly fair and balanced magic card to explode out onto the board. And then once he's pulled ahead, he'll freeze the board state by blowing up everybody's lands with Armageddon. Since Armageddon destroys all lands, it's a completely symmetric effect. It's safe to conclude that this effect is also fair. Sound off.
yeah. I don't think so. I think this is like. I mean, this matchup is like kind of close, but I think the games won't feel close. That's like my thought. I think either Brian Hockey will wipe the board with a pernicious deed and then run away with the game, or Mike will destroy all the lands and Brian will never get to play. That's my take. But I think like it's kind of like whoever gets to do their thing will win.
All right, and so hockey is on Black Green Rock. Those of us who are watching a modern event in Dallas, Sol Malka, the original rock champion, showed up and got second place in that event. And Brian Hockey is channeling that. He's got the rock. He's got some pernicious deeds. He's got some spot removal, necropotence. Just let me know how fair this card is. You pay one life and you get one card. I mean, life total is a resource, so I feel like paying life for cards is a perfectly reasonable exchange. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely Necropotence is one of the most broken cards in Magic's history, but I'm not sure how great it's going to be for him in this match. I mean, I think Elves is going to do a lot of chip damage, and like if that's his turn three play and he's going to pay a bunch of life, I mean, he's just like he's potentially opening himself up to get Geddoned or just take a lot of damage on the following turn.
Yeah,
So,
funny story. You can draw a bunch of cards, but if you have no lands, those cards will not do anything.
right.
So
Yeah.
that is very relevant. Uh, we are doing modified play draw, so I forget who the higher seed is, but I guess we'll find out when they start, playing. It looks like Brian Mulligan because one card did go on the bottom. Ooh, and this is a big deal. The elf deck is on the play and opens with a Findhorn elf, I believe. So that's a big deal because basically we're 2 turns ahead.
Yeah, and
That's
it started with a nice Romancing the Stone stamped forest as well. So, but yeah, Brian did mulligan. I imagine Brian is looking for a pernicious deed in his opening hand because I'm not sure how well he can win game one without a deed.
yeah. Yeah, the elves could just swarm out. So Brian does have a sweet light reanimator package in the deck. Entomb is legal. So this is pretty embarrassing because Thoughtseize is not in this format. So casting Duress against like the 30 creature deck, it could easily break off.
Right, and he does brick. And I mean,
Yeah.
what's one thing that's tough for him though is like the rest also hits the most important card from his opponent's deck, Armageddon. So, but like it is gonna brick a high percentage of the time, which is pretty.
Yeah, that's
pretty
really
ugly.
rough. So mulligan, and you cast peak, except you just discarded a card instead of drawing a card. So
Right.
that's not how we drew it up. The elves deck is going to explode out.
It's got double acolyte here and a
Okay, Multana's
cradle.
Acolyte, which is the original Elvis Visionary. It has this echo. But all we want to do is play elves and generate mana, and we're doing it all. We're generating extra mana and drawing cards. So this is the full engine. Usually you get one or the other. You get quick mana and no cards, or you get cards and not quick mana. But when you're playing these green decks, your creatures draw cards, and the world is your oyster.
Yeah, Gaia's Cradle being the fair card that it is, as you play these creatures that don't make mana, you still get extra mana.
All right. Well, we're just gonna Doomblade some creature. Nobody cares. Okay, yeah, get out of here, Llanowar Elves. All right. So yeah, we're actually a little pinned now. We can't pay the echo on both of these creatures.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he has to pay Echo on one, or his Cradle's not going to make any mana.
Yeah, it's kind of free to pay on one. But it is a heartbreaker because we were going to cast Sylvan Messenger this turn, which is the Goblin Ringleader for Elves. Once again, when my deck has 30 elves in it, casting Goblin Ringleader for Elves is going to be pretty decent. So instead, we make more mana with the Priestess of Titania. So here it is, deed check right now. Do we have Pernicious Deed? Is that why we mulliganed? Okay, Cobalt Therapy. Okay, this is cool. We can get the Sylvan Messenger out of here.
Yeah, it's not bad. He might still have the deed. He might just be sandbagging, knowing that it's safe in his hand.
Oh,
He
all
double
right. We're
messenger.
back in the game, boys. All right.
Wow. All right, we've got two
Yeah,
cards
this
left.
was a strong
If
turn.
one of those is Necro, it might be he might just run away with it.
Yeah, like now the Elves deck, the card draw is all gone. We've got the Symbiote, and our plan next turn was to get Messenger plus Symbiote, where he could just keep drawing through our deck. But Brian Hockey's he had the sniper knowledge from the duress. The duress paid off in the end. So now we've just got a bunch of kind of meaningless elves running around. And this is how we dismantle the Elves deck. We want to cut them
bounce
off.
the Acolyte though and start a draw engine that way.
Yeah, that's not nearly as good as Messenger. But yeah, that is a thing. Oh, I guess we should have floated mana first. That's okay.
Well, he would take mana burn if he can't use that mana, which might be why he didn't. But
I don't think his life total is a terrifically important resource in the context of this map. So yeah, the elf deck actually still is in it. We have Acolyte, aka Visionary, plus Symbiote. That's a pretty powerful combo. So we don't have Deed on the other side, but we do have Powder Keg.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. It will clean up. It'll clean up the Symbiote only, probably, because you can use the Symbiote to bounce the Ranger.
Well, the problem is if we do that, if we use the Symbiote to bounce the Ranger, that means we're not using the Symbiote on the Acolyte, because we pass, we tick up the Powder Keg, we pass back. Now we can't use the Symbiote on the Acolyte, because if we do that, we're guaranteed to get 2 for 1.
Yeah.
Well, but we can crack the keg. If we ever choose to use the Symbiote on the Acolyte, then we just get to crack the keg and get both 1-mana elves.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a little bit of back and forth. I'd say that Hockey's a little bit behind, but he's really survived the early onslaught, because the elf deck could have just taken off. Like we could be, like a G6 or something, like 30,000 feet in the air. But instead, we've just got like the motley crew of like little dudes.
We'll see if he fetches Plains Geddon here.
Plains Geddon would be strong, though. Oh, and actually, Plains Geddon is good because we could use the Ranger to save one of our forests. That's very relevant. That just all the synergies, all the pieces of the buffalo right here.
Got 2 cards in hand. He did fetch the Plains, but I mean, assuming he wants a white source anyway. Yeah, feels like that's what he's got. Oh, there it is.
All right, Geddon. And I think that
not to save a forest.
Whoa. Okay. Well, this is still what we want to be doing as the elf deck. We get ahead on board and then we freeze the board out. Now, usually the way this works is you get ahead on board and your creatures are making mana so you can get in. But we've got 4 power on the board. Yeah, this could go either way, because we pop the keg. If we save one of the elves, we just may not be able to play that elf anytime soon. So
well, he did find the brushland.
Yeah.
So like if he pops the keg for 1, he can save his Ranger.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really close because so the beauty of this format is the creatures in this format are all from another era. In the modern era, all creatures hit you once and you die. Like all the creatures have like 20 power and trigger and draw 5 cards and Doomblade your creatures. In the classic era of Magic, you can take a few beats from some creatures and still turn the tables. So that's something that's kind of nice. We've got these busted spells like Armageddon running around, but at least you're not just one-shotted out by creatures. Okay, yeah, we definitely save a guy here.
On his main phase, and
okay,
so he could therapy away the card he bound.
Okay, that's reasonable. I don't recognize that this other elf. Is this the pump elf or overrun elf?
Yeah, it's the overrun elf. It's got morph for 3. I think it's a 2-mana 1/1 otherwise.
Yeah, we're pretty far away from that happening. So Hockey's taking some chip shot beats. Okay, he's got access to green mana. A single call of the herd would just brick wall this aggro.
Yeah, I think missing his bounce of force really is hurting him here because like he would
Uh,
have potentially
yeah,
be
we'd
able to
have
play the card that he
to.
can.
We could have maybe done some acolyte shenanigans. We could at least play out the overrun elf whose name I cannot recall at this time.
The tribal force mage is the card.
Travel Force Mage. Yeah, yeah. For me, it screens a little hazy. But this is the plan. We're still getting in for damage. Do do
Yeah,
what do the
just
life
gonna
total dice
play
say
out
for
the
you?
generic 1/1.
Yeah, play a one
So
one.
yeah, I think hockey's at 6.
Ooh, okay. Skeletal scrying. That is bold, sir.
It's gonna go to 4.
I mean, that doesn't change the clock. I mean, it kind of does because now if we tap our Llanowar Elves for green, we are on a 1-turn clock. So whatever we do this turn had better be
Yeah.
real. Better be
So I
real
mean, if he plays
good.
a creature, he's not on a 1-turn clock, and that's the only thing the green man is either going to play a deed or a creature. Oh no,
Nope,
that he's
we did
scooping him
not
up.
have
Yeah.
it. We're just dead. All right, so that was a little anticlimactic, but not really. We said that someone might just get stomped, and it was like a slow bleed, but we know what hamstrung hockey there, and it was all of his lands getting blown up in the middle of the game.
Right.
Opponent gets ahead on board and then locks up the board state from changing by just destroying all resources. Perfectly fair, perfectly balanced. As all things should be.
Yeah, and hockey did not ever find a pernicious deed in that game, which I think is his like kind of key card to stay in the game.
Yeah,
He found a lot of spot removal, but that's not really the way you want to attack elves.
yeah. So, however, in the sideboard, there's no engineered plague, but hockey does have 2 copies of Infest. Okay, that's really good. Hockey also has Oath of Druids, and so he has a light reanimator package. Visara, Phantom Neshoba. He could bring in another Phantom Neshoba and just kind of brick wall out the ground by making a giant 7/7 lifelinking creature. So that's
I think he's got to go that plan. I
yeah.
mean, he loses like the Entomb Nether Spirit, which isn't a big deal. I'm sure he's going to board out his Contamination because his opponent's creatures make mana.
Yeah.
And
The contamination lock's not good
anything.
here. So on the flip side, what do we have? Well, clearly Naturalize is coming in. By the way, these deck lists are open. So we're going to naturalize. We want to naturalize Deeds. We want to naturalize Oath of Druids. So Naturalize is coming in. After that, we could potentially bring in Steely Resolve to give all of our creatures Shroud, all of our elf creature Shroud. But when our opponent has like cards like Powder Keg and Pernicious Deed, Steely Resolve is not very exciting. There's Caller of the Claw, so if we get swept, we can flash into Caller of the Claw and make a bunch of bears. That's not terrible. So I could see Naturalizing Caller of the Claw being what I went to, and I'd probably leave the rest alone. Maybe the Nantuko Vigilante for some extra naturalize effects.
Yeah, I mean that's 5 cards with the Callers and the Naturalize. It's pretty hard to trim 5 cards in this elf deck, I think.
Right. That's a big thing about playing these synergy decks. You want your elf deck to have as many elves as possible. Otherwise, your Sylvan Messengers don't work. Otherwise, your synergy with Wirewood Symbiote doesn't work. On the other hand, when your opponent's deck does have sweepers, it becomes very easy to trim like mana creatures because especially when you're on the draw, like your mana creature just kind of overextends you into sweepers. There's this copy of Biorhythm. I definitely wouldn't have that in games 2 and 3.
I would probably not have that in my deck ever, so it'd probably be my first card that came out every time I sideboarded with this deck. But it does randomly beat, stuff like Ensnaring Bridge or something.
All right. Well, I mean, I just, despite the questionable decks you played in the past, you naysaying Biorhythm, I'm not feeling your commitment to memes here. Okay. Sometimes that's what it's about. It's not about winning. It's about sending a message. And
sure,
that's what Biorhythm is doing.
Biorhythm definitely does that. It's like, how many creatures? None? Okay. Yeah.
Let me get this EDH technology out here. That's what, or banning EDH anyway.
Yeah. I mean, and Naturalize is not the best against Deed, except that his deck is probably fast enough that Hockey has to like play Deed, then untap, and then activate it. But,
right.
If Hockey expects Naturalize and he has the time, he can wait to play Deed and be able to activate immediately.
Right.
But knowing that Hockey's bringing in Oath, like you've got to bring in Naturalize. I think the Oath plan is a nice juke in the Swiss when there's no open deck list. But
the gag is everybody kind of knew it. People have been playing some variant of this deck for a while. So if I played against this deck, I would just assume that Oath or Engineered Plague was in my opponent's sideboard.
Right. Yeah.
So I would just bring in the Naturalizes in the dark anyway. In the context of this league, if I had never played Middle School before, and never played against any of these players, and never done any research onto their deck lists, which are on the internet, then yeah, I might not do that. But nah.
Yeah. The yeah, I mean, I might cut the tribal force mages just because like you might end up getting swept. Like I think I'd rather have the Collar of the Claws than tribal force mages post board.
And the Collar of the Claw, even if you don't get to trigger and make a bunch of bears, you can just mess up people's math by flashing out a guy, which is not something that you expect out of the Elves deck. There's no collected company in this format. That's a sweet Magic card.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely true. I mean, and even if it's just like a smother, sometimes making 4 power after a smother can be just the game.
Yeah, that's enough. That's enough to mess up people's math for sure.
So yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think the oath definitely makes this more interesting. I mean, because like if he just goes oath after the 1-drop and gets a 7/7 lifelinking trample, like he might just be able to race the elf deck. He probably will be able to race the elf
deck. So, a turn 3 7/7 lifelink trample creature should be good enough. Especially, we can't hedge against oath in this deck by bringing in Swords to Plowshares. There do not seem to be any copies of that. So we basically just like can't get oathed. You know, if our opponent triggers oath, we're probably losing the game. And that's fine. When I put 30 creatures in my deck, I accept that, you know, this stupid Oath of Druids card will wreck me.
I mean, the elf deck does have 1 swords in the sideboard, but it's like hard to bring that in. I think I'd probably just
does
bring
it?
the Naturalizer.
Or am I not reading this right? Did he have some alternate art here? I think he had a swords in a previous league, but there's no swords in this league.
Okay, the text list I saw had swords.
I have a picture list and a text list. Well, I guess we'll find out. Yeah. There's the swords in one, but not the other. Whatever. And so let's go back to Oath of Druids. Speaking of fair cards, Oath of Druids is a 2-mana enchantment, and you play it out, and then during each player's upkeep, if their opponent has more creatures than them, they mill from the top of their deck until they reveal a creature card, and then they can put this creature card into play. Since Oath of Druids is symmetric, you could play Oath of Druids and then give your opponent a free creature. Clearly, Oath of Druids is once again a very fair Magic card, and that's why it's only legal in Vintage.
Yeah, although in this format, because the creatures are so bad, it is not that broken. Like the favorite thing for people to do with it in this era was like loop Spike Feeder and Spike Weavers. Which is like objectively just not very powerful.
It was just like a huge troll. Like I've lost to the Spike Feeder, Spike Weaver loop, and I just like hated everything that was going on. Like you just got fogged every turn, and your opponent started gaining like 2 extra life every other turn. You just like threw up in your mouth.
All right, so Hockey Mold is 6, I think, and passed on turn 2 with no oath. So
okay, no oath, no smother on the elf. Like if my opponent played a turn on elf and I can Doomblade the elf, I would do it to time walk my opponent for sure on a mana elf. Right,
but that probably means Infestor Deed is coming, right?
Ooh, yeah. You know, we've got a number of powerful 3-drops coming up. I don't think I'd keep a hand without either one of them. Like, yeah, if my hand didn't have Oath, didn't have Infest, or didn't have Deed, I would be looking for another hand, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he did already go to 6. There's possible that he's like a little more stingy on his 6s going to 5, but yeah, I think you have to have one of those cards to win the game.
Yeah. I don't know. Hockey's been demonstrating a lot of hunger, and yeah, Infest, everybody's coming down with the sickness. Get these elves out of here.
Yeah, so I mean, elf players like just got 2 for 1. They do have a lot of ways to reload gas, but like the Acolyte having Echo when you don't have any mana dorks is kind of annoying, and then the Messenger costs 4, so.
Right, and like the elf deck is looking to curve out, so just making it skip turns 1 and 2. Like if we left those elves on the board, we could have been looking at our opponent having access to 6 mana on turn 3, and the game could have been over. Our opponent could have untapped with that much mana and just presented an insurmountable board state. So right. I definitely agree with just slowing things down. Okay, I'm told that the text list is accurate, and there is a one of Swords to Plowshares lurking. So this is Elvis Champion, or what are we looking at here?
Yeah, it's an Elvis Champion. Interestingly, Hockey playing green-black, but has only a single forest in his deck, so he's not likely to get Forest Walk.
Necro. Okay, this makes sense too. We don't want to get chip shot damage. We'll just we're gonna infest and then we're gonna Necro.
Yeah, I was interested if he would leave the Necros in. I mean, I do think he probably has to.
Yeah, because your opponent has the draw engine of the Sylvan Messenger, so you need some way to keep up with that. Especially games you're on the play, I think you can take turn 3 off to just like put this thing into play and draw a bunch of cards. Games you're on the draw, I'm more skeptical of that plan.
Right. So he picked up 4 cards to back up to a full grip. And now it feels pretty tough for Mike from here.
Yeah, now he's kind of necro locked, where every turn Brian is going to play a land and play a bunch of removal spells, and eventually he'll just run out of elves.
I like your use of the term necro lock for your opponent there. Your opponent is necro locked.
Yeah, it works. It works both ways. You know, more recently, and by recently I mean like 15 years ago, they printed this card Jace the Mind Sculptor, and when you played against it, you got Jace locked. If you played out one creature a turn, they could just bounce the creature. And if you played out like multiple creatures, the decks with Jace all had sweepers in them, and they would just brainstorm into the sweeper and get you. So it's just like the Jace lock. So that's kind of what's going on here. Well, you know, we've got an empty board, we've got Necro. If we play out one creature a turn, our opponent gets to Doomblade our creature and like possibly do something proactive on their board. If we play out multiple creatures, you know, say hello to Pernicious. All right. All right.
Plan is to beat down with this 2/2, I think. So
all right, I appreciate this plan. So I think I've mentioned this before, but when you're behind in the game, you should introduce more variance into the game. You know, if you can't beat what's going on, just make the game as random as possible. And so now we're in this situation. Brian cannot draw for their turn because of the Necro. They're taking 2 damage a turn. And maybe Brian didn't draw any lands or something.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, he's got 7 cards in hand, but he's sort of taking a long time to put one of those lands in play if he's got lands in his hand.
So I'm a big fan of this. And not just that, like, don't forget what your deck's core plan is. You know, hey, things are looking bad. My opponent just got this 2-for-1, and they're drawing all these extra cards, but I can still execute my core game plan of blowing up all their lands.
Wow, Brian does not have any lands, I guess.
Okay, well, I feel bad because, you know, Brian is definitely hitting some of that bad variance here, but I respect Mike for going all in at this point in the game. There's no point in trying to win in some fair fashion once your opponent has got Necro in play.
Yeah, interestingly, Brian got a little punished for, I guess, only drawing 4 on his initial turn with Necro. Like, he had 3 cards in hand, just went up to a full grip. And, you know, oftentimes the turn you play Necro, you overdraw and try to sculpt a really strong hand, but he found no lands in those 4 cards and really got punished.
Yeah, it's really hard to, well, for one, you know, Brian had like, you know, he was probably thinking as long as I don't get Geddon, everything's going to be great, which a lot of us have thought before Geddon or Wasteland or some similar effect, you know, totally destroyed our game plan. And also, it's harder in the context of this match. If we are playing like a combo deck, it's really easy to just draw 10. Play Necro, draw 10. Our opponent is dead next turn. But Brian is playing like this fair plan, and his life total is an important part of that plan. So it's much more difficult to be so laissez-faire about your life total.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and you know, like you're a pretty strong favorite to draw a land in 4 cards. So you know.
A lot has to go wrong, and it did. You know, that happens.
Yeah. But like, he's not out of this game yet. I mean, I think he goes down to 6 here. He's going to go to 4, but then he plays a land, and then he goes to 2, and he plays one more land. He can like smother.
Smother, yeah.
He's got to be smother though. I guess Oath is too slow.
Oh yeah.
I think he's dead if it's Oath, but
yeah, so will get there. This is some slim margins that we're working on.
Yeah, Entomb and Animate Dead will get there too. Like that's another
but
line.
That's 3 mana, right?
Well, but so next turn he can cast the Entomb, and then 2 mana Animate Dead. He'll be at 2 when he Animate Dead.
Okay.
Pray his opponent doesn't have a naturalize for the Animate Dead, but Mike has no lands. I mean, he didn't play a land.
Yeah, Mike's gone all in. This is it. You know, can he beat this board state?
Yeah. it's definitely not over, but hockey definitely needed to find 2 lands in those cards that he just drew. He drew
Yeah,
6
this is
cards.
it. This is
Yeah, had to be 2 lands plus, either Smother or Entomb Animate Dead. I think I don't see another way in his list that's going to get him out.
okay. Let me go over here.
Ryan thinking pretty hard about what he wants to exile here.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we know we're keeping 2 lands.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay, so 2 deeds. Yeah, that's way too slow when you have no lands. Duress doesn't matter. Opponent can't cast spells.
Got rid of a land, so he must have 2
Yeah.
more.
Exhume only works when we have creatures in our graveyard. So, this is it. Don't play land 1 mana elf because that would be really painful. Oh no! Oh no! Land
A fancy foil great cradle.
Okay, yeah, that's a problem. If there's a 1 mana elf, we are in danger.
But he passed. No 1 mana elf.
Okay, Cabal Therapy. Well, there's no 1 mana elf. What do we even name here?
I don't know.
Caller of the Claws revealed. Guy's Cradle's revealed. Tribal Force Mage is revealed. No idea what was named.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that it really matters. Probably just want to see what he was up against.
So this next turn, got to have that Smother.
Well, and his opponent can play a 1/1 this turn.
Really needed Innocent Blood or something. Oh man, yep, here we go. Okay, playing legendary lands. Yeah, like we've done the math, and presenting 2 threats is the way to win. So this is real slim.
So it's got to be Smother, right?
So if we smother the champion, then we take 1 off the Force Mage, and we're at 1. Is that the life total situation?
Yeah, I said you got to win with what's in your hand.
Oof.
So maybe there's a Call of the Herd in his hand.
Yeah, well, if we have 1 more deed in our hand, we can deed away the Necro and start playing Magic again.
Yeah, that's true. He did discard 2 deeds. But
okay, we've got the land.
Can't make green mana after smothering though.
Okay, so we smother the guy, smother the champion. All right. I mean,
hockey hasn't conceded, so he must feel like he's got
smother
something going on.
It's not Call of the Herd because all of our land, unless we have like Tainted Forest or something.
Yeah, he might have Tainted Wood in his hand.
Okay. No draw. What do you got? What are you doing? It's rough. Okay. Animate Dead. Oh, targeting. You can target our opponent's creature. Yep. Give me that. What do we got here? I'm pretty sure it's Elvish Champion is but Elvish Champion helps all elves, right?
Oh, it does. His opponent's gonna get a 2/2. It's gonna trade either way.
Oh, okay, but hockey doesn't have.
Oh no, it's not gonna trade. It's gonna
be a 1/2.
Animate Dead lowers the power.
Yeah, well, at least hockey doesn't have any forests. But yeah, maybe we should have gotten a different elf here. Now that we're there.
Yeah, this feels like hockey can't win from here. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that play did.
Yeah,
he doesn't
there's
get
no
to draw
third
another
land.
Card.
Yeah, we kind of got wrecked by this weird interaction. Yeah, we needed to animate Dead like Llanowar Elves or something like that. Not the Elvis Champion, basically.
Yeah, I wonder if he was just hoping his opponent wouldn't realize.
Wait! No! Isn't the other elf dead? Yeah, because it was a 2/2. The Elvis Champion leaves, it becomes a 1/1, so it is dead.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we're not dead though. We still get to make the trade.
Wow. Might be dead to this other 1/1.
Yeah, 1/1s are too strong.
Yeah.
Yep, we are conceding the game.
Yeah.
Naturalize. What do we bring Naturalize in for? Just for Steely Resolve? I don't know about that.
I don't know why Naturalize. I'm confused about that also. Like I thought, like he's got open deck list, so that's a little weird.
Yeah, we're just dead. We can't even cast the Oath because our land is Llanowar Waste. An important facet of this format is the mana bases are not great, and so our lands deal damage to us. It's really hard, especially for doing enemy color combinations. There aren't a lot of options. So yeah, the Elf deck, both games, Armageddon kind of sealed the game. Like that was the deciding play of both games. You know, Necro is this really busted card, but who cares if you draw like 7 extra cards in the game? If your opponent blows up all your lands, you just like can't play them or do anything. So Mike stayed on message and just went for that plan.
I guess Hockey kept the Naturalize in his hand for his own Necro. That's probably why.
That's tech. That's going pretty deep, but that makes sense.
But I don't know that's what you would put it in your deck for that. I think Mike had 2 Winter Orb sideboards, and maybe he was scared of those.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel maybe. But yeah, good job, Mike. Armageddon, perfectly fair. Clearly, we've demonstrated that Armageddon is the more powerful card than
Oath of Druids.
Than Necro. Yeah.
And then Necro, yeah.
So just get the white cards in your deck. Just leave them up right now. We don't need these other cards.
That was I mean, Elves doing exactly what it wanted to do. Play some Elves, cast Armageddon. You got to execute his plan. I mean, interesting. Like Necro is played quite a bit in this format because it is one of the rare instances you can play Necro, but really hasn't been that dominant in these leagues.
There's some things holding Necro back. Number one is there's no Dark Rituals, so Necro is legal, but Dark Ritual isn't. So we have to like actually take turn 3 off to play this card. Also, the combos in this format don't really use black. Like one of our more powerful combos might be like Replenish that uses blue and white. So yeah, there's just like not a lot of use for Necro with a combo. So playing Necro fairly, we saw there, it was much harder. We couldn't just draw 10 and kill our opponent next turn like if we were playing a combo deck.
Right. And the mana is also really rough, so it's really hard to play other colors with black when you're playing Necro. So
yeah,
like you saw the mana base there using Tainted Wood and no, Pain Lands to make green black work. But, are we taking a break before the next match, or are we going?
I think so, because officially they're supposed to be on at 7:45. So we're gonna stay with that and say 7:45. We'll be back with the next match. Let me double check if they have posted up. Yeah, 7:45. They haven't put their links in the chat yet. So I'm taking a break.
All right. All right. We'll be back in a little bit.
Later.
All right. All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the stream. We got our second semifinal match between David and Luke, and I think this is kind of an interesting one. I know Woodrow's got a favorite horse in this game, so
Oh
maybe we
yeah.
can talk about Luke's deck.
Oh man. So Luke is playing the purest and most beautiful form of Magic, where nothing happens. We're gonna see some islands. We're gonna see some people going into the tank and then passing the turn without taking any actions. And this really is the best type of Magic. So the beauty of this format is we've got some great reactive cards like Swords to Plowshares and Force of Will. And the creatures aren't nearly as good. So we can play some classic blue-white Landstill control. And our plan is a plan as perfect and as old as time, where we remove our opponent's creatures, we counter our opponent's spells, we draw cards off Fact or Fiction and Standstill, and then our opponent their lands are tapped, their hand is hellbent, their board is empty, and they're broken.
On the other side, I think we have something that's like kind of iconic from this time era, which is the survival recurring nightmare combination, and generating a lot of value on enter the battlefield triggers like Wall of Blossoms, and also having Squee with survival to finish to generate value. I think the problem for the Rexer player is that he's got a lot of cards that really just don't do anything against Landstill. Wall of Blossoms replaces itself, but like just doesn't care. He's got a bunch of mana dorks. Landstill just doesn't care. He's got like Tommy Orangutan and Monk Realist, which don't do much. So I feel like he really needs to resolve a survival to have any hope in this game, so that he gets this like every turn getting some sort of gas that matters.
Right. Yeah, the Rexer deck has a lot of cards that by themselves just don't do anything. And that's what, when we're playing blue-white control, that's what we want to see. We can ignore a lot of our opponent's cards. We can only fight over the ones that matter. And we can even let these other cards stick around. Like the Rexer deck has cards like Acroma, Angel of Wrath. Well, if we draw this Acroma, that's just like not doing anything. So the Rexer deck gets to be on the play. So if they're on the play and they can just slam turn 2 survival, the only recourse from the Standstill deck is Force of Will. And there's usually like one disenchant effect in the main deck. There's a dismantling blow. So that could really let you get ahead. But it's turn 2, and I don't see survival even being put on the stack. So that plan is already out the window.
Right. Yeah. So now Luke has a chance to either play Standstill or hold up Counterspell, and it's going to be a lot harder from here, I think.
Yeah. So I definitely would be like slamming. I assume this is Standstill that is being put on down, but Luke's deck is full of alternate art cards that really just don't. Yeah, it's Standstill. That are somewhat difficult to understand. So we have executed our game plan. The board is empty. We're playing Standstill. The burden will be on David to crack the Standstill. Luke's deck has manlands. This is exactly how we drew it up.
Yeah. David might have a lot of lands in hand and be willing to just play this land go game for a while, but I mean that's just not really.
Yeah, that's not a winning proposition.
Yeah.
Let's say that we do that. Well, that favors the Landstill deck. They have things they can do under the Standstill, and now we have a bunch of mana. They can play a card draw spell and an interactive spell in the same turn. Okay, but the Landstill deck did miss the land drop first. So our goal in this scenario is basically when you're playing against Landstill, you have the card Standstill, you have 2 options. One is you break it right away, you just pretend it doesn't exist, or the other is you wait until your opponent draws up to 7, hope things haven't gone wrong, and then you crack it. They draw 3, they go up to 10, and then they have to discard some cards. This works best when you have instants in your deck, so you can do it at the end of their turn and force them to discard. Other than the card Intuition, which there is like one of, I think everything in David's deck is at sorcery speed. So even that plan's like kind of not great. Right. And also the Landstill deck is full of manlands, and I assume that is a Mishra's Factory that's rumbling in.
Yeah, that is a Mishra's Factory. I'm looking at his list where I can zoom in on the cards. I think he's got 1 Mishra's Factory and 2 Flooded Strands in play.
Yeah, something. By game actions, we will deduce what's happening. Okay, so I mentioned that there's a card, Acroma, Angel of Wrath, wouldn't be very great. and we figured out what to do: put it into the graveyard, because then we can bust it out with some recurring nightmares later in the game. Even then, even if we okay, well, we're just going to move to discard as the Landstill deck. That's fine. Even if we reanimate a Chroma because our opponent's deck is full of Swords to Plowshares, Wrath of God, and Humility, that's not even like a big game play.
Yeah, it looks like he's getting ready to crack the Standstill here.
Yeah. All right. What do we got? I'm gonna go check. Do we have a bunch of like therapies or duresses to make it less painful to crack Standstill? I don't think so. I think the deck's like all creatures. Oh wow. Okay, I'll crack Standstill to draw 1 card and make a wall, and you can draw 3 cards. I know which end of this arrangement I'd like to be on. There are 3 Cabal therapies.
Yeah, he does
deck.
have therapy. So like I have to imagine what he's hoping to do is play this wall, play a therapy, and maybe try to resolve a recurring nightmare. But
yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to ask, but that's what we're here for, you know. That's
right.
That. But yeah, therapy I think is like the best card here. That lets us kind of clear the way and see what's going on. Lets us know if our opponent randomly has this card Humility in their hand. If Humility shows up, the game is basically instantly over. Like,
yeah, and Luke does have one of those in his main and another one on his sideboard, and it's definitely pretty lights out in this matchup.
Yeah, like when your entire deck is built on creatures with like ETB abilities and Humility is in play, you just have a bunch of dudes that do nothing, and do some bizarre interactions. Humility will turn all of the creatures into 1/1s, but the man lands will still be 2/2s. Okay.
That's a Yellow
that goes and gets a land.
Yeah, it gets a land and puts it into play tabbed.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. So all our creatures are drawing a card. I like it. You know, you're drawing some cards of Standstill. I'm going to draw some cards with these 0/4s and 1/1s.
It does have Echo, so it's a 2/2 with Echo.
Well, I mean, come on. That's all we need is therapy. One-time dealer therapy.
Yeah, that's what it looks
We're
like.
going for it. Nope, that's a Birds of Paradise.
Birds of Paradise. Okay.
All right. Well,
going to develop our board of creatures
0 power
that Luke
and 1
doesn't
power
care
creatures.
about. Yeah.
And we're talking about that earlier. There's a lot of cards as the Landstill deck that we can ignore in this matchup. And so all these creatures that are in play, if we're the control deck, we really don't care about these creatures.
Right. You just drop some cards on top of his hand.
All right. Well, Luke's an all right guy. There's nothing going on here. Everybody chill out in the chat.
Is he fetching on the end of turn? Like, is he going to cycle a decree or something?
I mean, that would be the only reason to do that. Otherwise, you just want those lands to stay in your deck. You know,
right.
Draw more lands. That's all. They're lands. The deck is called Landstill. What do we want? More lands. You know. Okay, so what are we doing at the end of the turn? Yes. Okay, we're gonna cycle this decree. So we're making 3 1/1s and drawing a card.
I think it's 4, right?
Yeah, it's 4 1/1s, right? Well, 4 1/1s.
Yeah.
And it's been pointed out in the chat that Humility actually would upgrade the Wall of Blossoms. I think the Wall of Blossoms would get to attack when Humility is in play.
Sure, lose the text defender.
So that's a relevant thing. I mean, cycling the decree indicates that we're not going to cast Wrath, which I would be loath to do when my opponent is not presenting any threats. Powder Keg. All right, so David has nicely insulated themselves from Powder Keg by playing a nice curve of 1, 2, and then 3. So the Powder Keg can't 2 for 1 at this point.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Luke really cares about killing any of those creatures anyway.
Yeah, we don't want to trade cards with 0 power creatures. That's right. Not what we're doing here.
But yeah, he can move Powder Keg up to like an amount for creatures that matter. Like, I don't know what there's not like an obvious right number.
Tradewind Rider is 4.
There's like a Mesmeric Fiend on 2.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, we can go up to 2 on Mesmeric Fiend. Yeah, David's curve is definitely all over the place. When you have these survival decks, your deck is full of like these weird toolbox creatures. It's important to note that this is Utabi's orangutan time to shine. We can actually blow up this powder keg.
Right. You just have all of his mana. Oh no, we're still on Luke's turn.
Okay. Yeah, we played the powder keg. We played a fairy conclave tapped. We rumbled in with the team. Are we making some trades? I mean, we definitely trade off the Echo creature, so it looks like the Echo Elf is dead. So,
well, no, it's a 2/2. It's like
it's a 2/2.
Yeah, I'm not even sure.
Okay.
I would make that attack, but
yeah, I don't know if I would either. I would check to see if my opponent's paying the Echo.
Yeah. I mean, because I would assume that he's not going to pay the Echo.
I would assume that
an irrelevant 2/2.
And now we have to go to discard because we drew up to 10 cards. So David's plan sort of worked. We get our opponent to draw up to 10, and then they'll have to move to discard. They won't get full value out of their standstill. This could also backfire if our opponent just has like another standstill. But at this point, Luke's hand is both players are on 7 cards. So what's going to happen is something important is going to hit the stack or resolve, and both players are going to throw a bunch of cards around.
Yeah, David might be on less than 6 cards. He played 2 cards that don't draw a card left.
Yeah. They generated some different value, but they didn't draw a card. All right, so we are paying the Echo.
Okay.
I mean, if our opponent has a bunch of 1/1s, I guess I'll keep my 2/2.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably fine. Like, just at least keep a creature with power on the board and maybe make him answer it at some point.
Right, but David's got to do more than put 2 power on the board. All right, we're thinking about it. More Wall of Blossoms? Love it.
I think he might have. I don't know. He was just pausing to think. I thought maybe he froze for me.
No, we're still in the tank. What do we do here? Which of our sweet creatures? Oh, okay. Well, I'm pretty sure this is going to counter.
All of those cards in his hand are there for this. So
yeah. Boop. So yeah, we're definitely casting Counterspell on this. We only have mana to cast it one more time. Oh no, we're gonna cast a Recurring Nightmare. That's legit.
Yeah, that's my assumption.
No, the Utabi Orangutan.
It's his time to shine. You said it. You called it.
Powder keg. Why?
I'm not sure if Luke actually cares.
Yeah, I think we just let this happen. I think it's like bad, adios powder keg, but yeah, we just let this happen. We're not going to throw a counter spell at some gray ogres.
Right.
Yeah, we can't actually attack with our 2/2 because there's the Mishra's Factory. Can't we just block and pump? Did I miss something?
Yeah, the Mishra's Factory is tapped. It's his
okay. What I missed was these altars make it hard to understand the board state.
Yeah, his altars are very sweet, but they do make it very hard to tell what's in play.
Okay. So we're in for some long games. Everyone who thought that our first round was too quick, we won't have that problem here. So what do we got?
Probably a land and pass. Be my
land
guess.
Pass, yeah. Like the only real haymaker in Luke's deck is Humility, and he'll wait. Also, there's Wrath of God, but we just wait for David to commit like some more creatures, and then we cast the Wrath. Like, there's only 4 power on the board. We've got that covered with our own onboard creatures. There's no reason for us to Wrath at this point. We just hang back.
Like no reason not to play Humility if you have it. Like the worst.
No, if you have Humility, that's getting slammed into play. Like,
because like he can make you discard it, but he can't remove it from the board. So you put that in play.
Yeah. We might just cast a Standstill. I mean, that's the only Standstill. So we ice things down again. We've got the board checked, so that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really difficult for David to resolve anything relevant for the rest of this game.
Yeah.
I mean, therapy goes a long way, though. I mean, you can.
Yeah, we can punch through.
Yeah, you can name either force or counter spell and see what else is there, and then name the other one on the flashback. Cabal Therapy is like definitely one of the strongest cards in this format because like it lets you do things. It lets you force through spells against the control decks. It lets you take out combo pieces against the combo
And
decks.
the card pool in this format is narrowed such that Cabal Therapy can more reliably snipe a critical piece.
Right.
In the other format where Cabal Therapy is played Legacy, there's enough redundancy in decks where you can hit a critical piece and there's like a duplicate card that does something very similar. But
Right.
in this format, the named cards like Cabal Therapy and Meddling
Meddling
Mage are
Mage.
extremely powerful because there just aren't redundant effects.
Yeah. Against, say, David's deck, for example, naming Survival of the Fittest with Meddling Mage is pretty backbreaking.
Yeah. So David's, yeah, I think we just got to crack this standstill. Originally, our hope the first time was that our standstill player wouldn't have any lands and it would backfire on them. That's not happening. We just need to play spells. The board is covered, so I think that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm sure in Recurring Nightmare is like not even that strong because like even if he lets that resolve, like he could potentially just swords the Achroma.
Yeah, Chrome is like not a real card when your opponent has his white removal spells.
Right.
All right, Tradewind Rider coming up. Because we can't lead with the attack step. That just like abysses our creatures. So we just have to play a spell to like get the board to favor us.
Right. I mean, I guess like you could attack with the presumption that he can't afford the mana, like he wants to keep the mana up to counter 2 spells.
Yeah, that's distinctly possible. We could try for that.
But he's probably just going to trade 2 tokens for 1 guy and take 2 if he's like worried.
Yeah,
about
the
that.
next turn untap because we haven't spent the mana on standstill. And then what are we doing?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Looks like he's going to go for that. See if he can get his opponent to tap some mana.
Okay, well, Luke is just like, yes, I call.
Yeah. He's definitely calling.
Yeah, I don't care, and we
Like,
can't
I've
even
got
get
counter
blown out
spell
by
and
this. Like,
forcible at hand. Yeah.
Yeah, because if the Itabi orangutan had not already been played, we could be worried that we'd make our factory a guy, a person, block, and then get it blown up by the Itabi orangutan. But since the Itabi orangutan is already in play, all right, well, it doesn't matter because Luke decided not to do that. Luke
Yeah, it seems
decided that
like
it
a
was time to cast Recurring
control
Nightmare
G.
instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I think there's some confusion about the altars and what they were, so
Yeah.
he backed up.
So, yeah, I don't think that you counter this as the Landstill player, but I don't think it's imperative that you do. I mean, you could, but there's no like Eternal Witness to like set up sweet loops with. Uh, a
Yeah, I mean,
Chroma is not
he can
that
counter the
bad.
next time if he tries to set up a loop, but
Yeah, but we're gonna forbid it anyway. We might do it with buyback. We might not.
yeah, I love using the forbid if you're not going to buy it back here. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna discard at least one of those as a land. Okay, well, I mean, we're gonna move to discard anyway, so that's fine.
Yeah, definitely think it's fine.
I mean, not Necro. Recur is annoying because later on, let's say a good creature actually gets played, which hasn't happened yet. Later on, that good creature could be in the graveyard from a Wrath, and then any creature we top deck brings that good creature back. But even then, so recur means any creature that's top deck can turn into a Chroma, assuming we don't just source the Plowshare as a Chroma. And then there's no other one creature that we're like mega terrified of, I don't think.
Yeah, I think Deranged Hermit is like his best one because it makes a bunch of guys.
Yeah, Deranged Hermit plus Recur is very real. That's legit.
Yeah, I mean, Tradewind Rider is like not super strong, but I'm sure that Luke wants to answer just so he doesn't start getting his land bounced.
Yeah, we don't want to get our land bounced every turn. So we definitely, and also if it's in play, David can do bounce Wall of Blossoms, play Wall of Blossoms, and have a Howling Mine. So in some fashion, the Tradewind Rider has to be answered. All right, so we're just gonna cast this forbid. Now we've used some resources. So if we have to force a survival, that could be ugly.
Yeah, it looks like what's happening.
Or we could just have the one of Dismantling Blow and Dismantling Blow with Kicker since David's tapped all their lands. So
Right.
we'll see what plays here. And yeah, we put this. What? It died. Let me take a look here. Hold, please. We're having a slight technical issue. Cancel. Cancel.
All right,
Cancel.
so
Cancel.
it's force of willing it. So he
Okay,
did use a lot of resources on this turn. Forbid plus 2 cards and the force. Still deciding what he wants to exile, I guess.
Stream Manager, can you see me? I just refreshed. We should be good. All right. Okay, so yeah, a lot of resources have been spent this turn by the Landstill player. We forbid Wood Buyback, we cast Forbid, and then we force Will pitching a card. So we went from like 8 or 9 cards to like 2 or 3 cards.
Yeah, I think he has 3 left. But by the same token, I think David is down to like 1 or 2 cards also.
Yeah, David's board is still checked by what's on board. And at this point, we could potentially have a Fact or Fiction. We can tell that there's no Wrath, because if there's a Wrath, I might have been inclined to let the Tradewind Rider resolve and then Wrath away all those creatures. So.
Yeah, and after all of that, he did go to combat and attacked with 1/2/2, which
make the trade.
Yeah.
So what do we got as a follow-up? Yeah, this is exactly how I mentioned. It would play out. Both players had a lot of resources. At some point, someone's going to flinch. It's going to have to be the green deck. The green deck starts playing spells. We make a bunch of trades. And now, despite having both had like a zillion cards earlier, we're on a low resource scenario. There's no point in attacking. We just like lose the guy. So the attack implies
clearly just going to cast Wrath. Yeah.
Yeah, that implies we have Wrath. But if we do, I would have been inclined to just let the Tradewind Rider resolved.
Yeah. It's possible he just drew it this turn.
Yeah. All right, so we just cast the Wrath, get the 2 power with the creatures out of here.
Yeah, not like super excited about that Wrath. He can block the monkey.
Okay, but if we have a standstill, that makes a little bit more sense. But we actually had the creatures checked anyway. I think we could have held on to that Wrath. Maybe we're okay. We don't. If we hold on to the Wrath, we can get it sniped by a therapy.
Sure. Yeah.
I
think it's pretty clear David doesn't have therapy. You'd have to top that.
Yeah, like that would. Oh, all right. So here we go. Deranged Hermit. If this is Deranged Hermit, we're gonna be really sad. Like this could go really wrong if we don't have a counterspell or another Wrath. Like this line that we've taken could be very punished. And also, if we counter the Deranged Hermit, which is what we want to do, that means that any subsequent creature that is drawn can turn into Deranged Hermit if another Recurring Nightmare comes along. So this is a little bit scary. We force a will it.
One himself. Yeah.
I think that's totally worth doing. Wow. Do we have the recurring? Okay, Recurring Nightmare. So now we're in trouble. Any subsequent creature becomes Deranged Hermit.
Yes.
So now we get to trade in our Birds of Paradise and Wall of Blossoms for real cards. Hopefully we've got our one of Dismantling Blow. That would be pretty sweet.
See, it feels so much better to me if you'd kept that Wrath and just let the Hermit resolve, wrathed it away.
I think we were a little early on that Wrath. Like either we don't counter the, maybe we just drew the Wrath. But even if we had the board checked with our man land,
right?
So we could have just, we're using a lot of resources.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if he maybe had to do that given what happened. Because you don't want the Recurring Nightmare sitting there.
So now both players have 1 card. Because we've just been throwing it away like candy. We need Fact or Fiction. We need Humility. Okay, land go. Okay, revel in with Factory.
Okay,
go. Yeah, I like this.
Go get him.
Yeah, be aggressive. It's important to know when you're playing these control decks. When you've got a hurt fighter in the other corner, you've got to put that fighter out of their misery. So I like it. So we're pumping up the jams. We're just coming in. So I think we're going for like 6 damage, if I understand correctly what's happened here.
I think it's 5. I think it was
5. I know we pumped at least once.
Let me see. Let me do the math.
Oh yeah, we even have
I think it's 5.
5. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so David is at 6 life, and yeah, David has decided they don't want to play anymore. Yeah. The beatdown was too real.
Yeah, he was dead on the next attack if he couldn't play something. So.
Yeah. All right. So this is about what we expected to happen. The survival deck has a lot of moving pieces. If the card survival isn't in play, it's really easy for the Landstill deck to pick apart those pieces with cards that universally are good, like Counterspell and Swords to Plowshares, and just leave the survival deck with a bunch of like utility bears that can be very easily navigated. So let's take a look. What do we have in the sideboard?
So I'm looking at David's deck, and I don't see much that he wants to bring in. Like, he's got 1 Collar of the Claw, which is a pretty good answer to a Wrath of God.
Yeah.
And then he's got 1 Emerald Charm, which I might bring in just because Humility is so unbeatable.
Yeah. And so like one backdoor way I've seen people do things, they bring in like Engineered Plague, and you plague soldiers, and you plague like fairies. But the problem is the blue-white deck is already incentivized to bring in enchantment removal against the survival recur deck. So I don't think that's like an angle you want to attack from, even if that was. I find that angle to be a little questionable just in general. So yeah, I don't think
you can always make angels, if you if you're in a pinch, and like your game plan is fine, just playing a game until you have 4 cards left in library and you make 5 angels,
You're the control deck. Them answering your threats is kind of what you want. You want them to be doing that. As long as they're not killing you, you're winning the game. So I feel like David doesn't have a lot to bring in here.
Yeah, I feel like it's just getting worse for David post-board because Luke does have good stuff to bring in.
Yeah, so Luke has another copy of Humility. That card's unbeatable. Luke has some more disenchant effects. Those cards are good. Luke has... You can use Tormod's Crypt. Against a normal survival deck, I would not be as inclined to go for that. But if I was playing against Full English Breakfast or against Recursor, because they play with their graveyard so much, 1 of Crypt is quite reasonable. I would never want to hand with 2 Tormod's Crypts. That would make me physically ill, but 1 Crypt is good. So Humility, Crypt, extra disenchant effects, and possibly some incredible blowouts. But I can't tell because of these altars. Let me try and annul. Wow! Never mind. Yeah, this null card is pretty sweet.
Yeah, I like annul a lot more than disenchant. Hitting this on the way down is a lot better than hitting it in play.
Yeah, annul is great because if your opponent manages the timing correctly, disenchants don't actually stop. Have a bunch of green mana up, then when we play the survival, if they go to disenchant it, we can potentially ancestral recall by activating our survival a bunch of times to the targets in our deck. But annul just blows that wide open. Also, now that we're going to be on the draw, if we leave up 1 blue, we can still have answers to a turn 2 survival of the fittest. So yeah, Luke's sideboard has just like awesome cards. Luke is very prepared.
It's not even obvious to me what Luke would take out for those cards. I think you take out the Powder Keg, and then...
Powder Keg's not great. 3 Decrees might be 1 too many. Let's see.
You could potentially cut Prohibit. You're putting in a better counterspell.
Yeah, we have a better counterspell, so Prohibit can go. After that, it gets real hazy. But you
could cut your Route or like 1 Wrath.
You can do that. I mean, because the survival deck is so slow, we don't need our Wrath to happen on turn 4. I might be inclined to cut a Wrath and leave the Route just to juke any Cabal therapies. You want to keep that diversity. And also the Humility is basically like a Wrath that happens every turn. So, but yeah, Powder Keg, a Decree, a Prohibit, maybe a Wrath. Oh no, I've turned into a robot. That's kind of sweet. Let me fix that up. I wonder what is going on over here.
I think Woodrow has always been a robot. He's just
then why aren't I good at
mask
magic?
is down. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. I think this doesn't get any better. So like if I'm David, I'm probably only bringing in Emerald Charm and Collar of the Claw.
Yeah. All right, mic check, mic check.
Yep, sound clear.
Okay. Yeah, actually, I think it had defaulted me on the last refresh to the wrong audio source, so that might have been it.
All right. So we got to play again. He did not try to jam a turn 2 survival last game, so we can see if maybe he finds that line. It's just a lot worse now that your opponent has 2 annuls in their deck, in addition to Force of Will.
Yeah, so let's not mulligan. Let's have turn 2 survival. That's the real key to victory here. And it's really tricky to not mulligan with this deck because the mana bases in this format are bad. they're not good, and we're playing a 3-color deck, so it's really rough to get a functional hand.
Yeah, it's like almost a 4-color deck. He does have a white card he wants to play in his deck that he can basically only play out City of Brass and Birds of Paradise. Although, if there's one card that got cut, it was probably that white card. So.
Yeah, fun fact, just in case it's not clear, if Humility is in play, Monk Realist does not beat Humility, and if Standstill is in play, Monk Realist does not beat Standstill. So just keep that in mind, everybody. You heard it here first. I assume that's Flooded Strand that got played?
Yeah, that's a Flooded Strand.
Okay. So this is like the nut opening in terms of mana base for David. It's the wrong 2-drop. So yeah, but we have perfect mana. City of Brass plus Reflecting Pool. We've got perfect mana. Everything's happening.
Oh, you know what? That's in the Dark Our Waste. It's not a Flooded Strand.
Oh, okay, well that's just as good. That's just as good.
Yeah. And there's a Standstill.
All right. Well, one of these 2-drops draws 1 card, and the other draws 3 cards. So I know which 2-drop I would rather be playing.
Look, Wall of Blossoms in my mind draws like 12 cards of how many times I've cycled it with Recurring Nightmare. So.
Right. But the problem is that requires us to. All right, the powerful Spike Feeder has entered the arena. Sure, that was in the sideboard. Maybe we cut some of our more utility bear type creatures for Spike Feeder. It's a 2/2, and then we can move the counters around and mess up some combat.
Yeah, it doesn't feel great if your plan is to board out worse creatures than a 3-mana 2/2, but that's possible. I think it might be better than some of the other cards in his deck in this matchup.
Okay, so all right, so are we going to have to discard as the Standstill deck? We've got 2 Adarkar Wastes. All right, so now we get to cast Plow without damaging ourselves. So this is actually, yeah, we should have 8 cards in hand. We'd have to discard 1, I think. But we're going to cast something that costs 3 mana. Oh, okay, this is sweet. Yeah, this is really good.
Because you're not scared of anything he can play for 4 mana that's not an enchantment. So.
Yeah. So this is really good, and this sets us up for our deadly 4-drops next turn. We're just really hoping that Cabal Therapy is not in David's hand. That's really his best card in this scenario. Because we could therapy and then flashback and clear out any sort of sweepers or humilities or any scary goodies. But yeah, I like this a lot. Because adding 2 to the cost of everything is all the enchantments and artifacts is very real. Something is going. Oh, did we forget to discard?
Yeah,
or...
it seems like he had 8 cards. I guess he was on the draw.
He was on the draw, so every land we play puts us down 7. So no, we should go down to 6. So we play the 6 after Standstill. We draw 3. Up to 9, draw again, up to 10, play land, down to 9, play the aura, down to 8. So we should have to discard 1 card.
Yeah, that's right. He discarded a counter spell, it looks like.
Wow, that's a big flex.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That is a show of strength. All right, so Tradewind Rider is a relevant threat because we have two other creatures. We can start bouncing these lands. This will require an answer of some kind. My guess is that there might be some sort of 4-mana sorcery speed spell in Luke's hand at this point in the game.
Yeah.
That would
Notably,
be
Spike Feeder becomes a 3/3 with humility.
Okay, maybe that's
that is
it.
a real reason to bring in Spike Feeder, I guess.
Okay, the anti-humility tech. Yeah, so
Yeah.
if we play humility, it will actually upgrade our opponent's creatures in this board state. So
Yeah.
that is something to be aware of.
Yeah. Although I'm not sure if that really counts as an upgrade with Tradewind Rider losing its ability, but
Yeah, the odds of us executing our game plan as the survival deck are so slim that the Motley beatdown is the game plan.
yeah.
Because it's so hard to get recursor loops or Tradewind Rider activations going against Landstill.
Right.
So yeah, our Spike Feeders a 3/3, our Wall of Blossoms a 1/1. Yeah, level up,
Yeah.
All
But
our
it could just
creatures are
be
like,
Wrath of God, might not
yeah,
be
if it's
humility.
Wrath, then we're in a spot. All right, what do you got first, Luke? Like we're gonna be tapping the mana this turn. I would, we discarded a counter spell. That is sending a strong signal that we had intended to answer the board in some way. And Wrath. Yep.
Yeah.
Creatures. Who needs them? David will very relevantly have the option to gain 4 life in response to
Yeah.
this Wrath of God.
Looks like that's what's happening.
Yeah. Hey, we've got a City of Brass in play. Those every little bit matters.
Yeah. I mean, I've played these 3 and 4 color survival decks. You take a lot of damage from Pain Lands, although against Landstill, it's the
Yeah,
least of your
I
concern.
mean, I think it actually did matter in that last game. That last game went really long, and David had some pain lands in play, and then
Yeah.
suddenly after 2 turns of attacks, he's like, "I don't want to play anymore." So
Right.
maybe that was the thing. I wasn't paying that close of attention.
Yeah. No, he was dead on the next turn if he didn't have a creature to play. So I don't think it was like a preempted scoop.
All right, so we play the uh, the muscly Birds of Paradise to assert dominance on the board.
Yeah, that's not a great sign. Your opponent's tapped out, and the best thing you can do is deploy Birds of Paradise.
Yeah, that was a
Not
deranged
great.
hermit. That's what we wanted to follow the wrath up with. Deranged
Right.
hermit. That would have been real good. Um, yeah, the world is Luke's oyster. When we're playing Landstill and our opponent has 0 power with their creatures in play, that's what we want.
Yeah, it's so disappointing to me because like I want to do these shenanigans with survival of the fittest, but it kind of feels like the best survival deck is Elves.
Yeah,
Uh,
where you just go get more elves. All
yeah,
right, so now I think that's got to be humility. So we're
yeah,
just like punching out creatures forever. Oh, humility is like one of those cards that's like ensnaring rage. It's like, oh no, my opponent made the mistake of putting creatures in their deck. Who would have thought that Magic would be a game about creatures attacking and blocking? Well, it's not. You know? At least the
well,
birds get to
wasn't
attack.
it wasn't for like 20 years, but now it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So the birds get to rumble in. Um,
Yeah, I don't think
that's
Luke
not
really
nothing.
cares about that. Yeah.
Hey man, we gotta accentuate these silver linings. So our opponent just got a 3-for-1 and nuked all our creatures. They drew 3 extra cards. Um, they turned all of our creatures for the rest of the game into 1/1s with no text. But hey, our Birds of Paradise is getting into the red zone.
Yeah. Well, maybe he's gonna get a massive army here and then get him with his one of Emerald Charm.
We left in the Uktabi orangutan. We just like we're so ready for Tormod's Crypt or Powder Keg to be in play.
Well, I think the options are Tabi Reggaeting or Spike Feeder. So
Yeah, which
might
gray ogre do we put into the deck? So I know it sounds like I'm really ragging on David's deck. I think David's deck is mega sweet, and he has this really bad matchup that's really good at breaking up creature synergies. And David's deck really doesn't have a way to juke out of that.
yeah.
David's deck is all about creatures, and the Landstill deck is all about suppressing creatures. And so you get this like bad spot where you're just kind of embarrassed by really busted cards like Humility.
Yeah. I will say it's pretty hard for creature-based decks to beat survival decks like this. I mean, even though they deal themselves a lot of damage, they just gum up the board and then they start doing absurd things with Recurring Nightmare and survival.
We had a match 3 weeks ago where it was Elf Beatdown versus Survival, and the Elf Beatdown deck got Survival very low. But once the engine was online, they're drawing 3 cards a turn. They're bouncing all the permanents. It was insurmountable once this engine's online. But Landstill is just not going to let that happen. Like, we're just not going to get that engine online. All right. And hey, when all creatures are 1/1s, how about I make 3 1/1s for 1 card and draw a card? That seems good. So we're gonna cast Wrath in a kind of different way here. Or when is this happening? Ooh, the Emerald Charm. Yeah, fun policed. Force of Will says you can't do that. All right, good on David. David picked a spot. Said, I'm making this Force of Will check right now. Do you have it? Unfortunately, our opponent had drawn a bunch of extra cards, so the answer was yes. That's it. I don't think David has any other way to get the humility off the board. So for the rest of the game, all creatures are 1/1s. Change my mind.
Yeah, that's and his opponent has 3 creatures in play, which is like an insurmountable number.
Yeah,
so
3 1/1s is too much. All right, now we're just like running up the score. We're playing the standstill. David is like, this is dumb. I don't like these enchantments, and I don't want to play anymore. You know what, David? I don't fault you. Even though this is like an elimination round, some people would play to the bitter end. I think Luke has demonstrated that he's not going to make some weird game-losing mistake and mana burn himself to death or something.
It would have to be a pretty like intentional mistake to lose from that point.
There's just no way out. So, all right. So in the finals, we have 2 very diametrically different decks. We're going to have Green-White Elves with Armageddon, a card that destroys all lands. So, Andrew, if you're playing a deck called Landstill, and your opponent is playing a deck that destroys all lands, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I definitely don't want to get all my lands destroyed as Landstill. I think I think it's a little challenging because like you're going to be forced to use a Wrath of God at some point, and you have to just be very careful that you don't get like Geddon at that point. And sometimes you might just have no choice but to tap out for Wrath with no force protection. That said, like I think this matchup is pretty good for Elves when they have survival. I think it's a lot harder when they don't have survival because Wrath does such a good job of stabilizing. But when the Elves deck has a survival in play, that's a different story. Now, resolving an Armageddon is obviously going to be lights out, though. I mean,
Armageddon is big game. I've lost to Armageddon playing the Landstill deck. It's not pretty. When my plan is to put 10 lands into play and my opponent blows up all my lands, there's a big frown in the chat.
Right. Yeah. So I think it'll be an interesting match. I think it's a close one.
And these 2 decks have been very heavily represented throughout leagues. We've had Landstill make it to the finals and win previous middle school leagues that we've held. We've had Elves make it to the final and win multiple in previous leagues. So both of these decks have a very solid pedigree, and I really think that they are the tier 1 decks in the format. Some variant of Elves, either with or without survival, and Landstill are the best decks in the format. The Elf deck is very resilient. You're cheating because you're generating so much mana so quickly, and the Landstill deck's answers are so efficient. So I think the format's kind of solved. We've got the 2 best decks, and then everything else is like tier 1.5 at best. But that's my 2 cents.
It does feel that way. I mean, we've had a finals mirror of Landstill and a finals mirror of Elves. And now we finally see them playing against each other in the finals. They have definitely been the 2 decks that have consistently risen to the top. I think there's been a lot of cool brews that have kind of risen to the finals in some of the leagues, or like decks that are close. And there are I think close decks that are favored against these decks. But
for sure. Like if you're playing Landstill, your game 1 against burn is atrocious. Like you just sit back and give them all the time to burn you out. So Landstill has bad matchups. The Elf deck doesn't have disruption for combo. So in the very first league, I thought you played an extremely powerful Tinker deck The elf deck just like can't stop that from happening. You know, like you just get to tinker
Right.
them and kill them.
Yeah, I played that in this league too, and I went 3-3. So I played against Landstill twice. Yeah.
Landstill's bad news, and the card Meddling Mage is bad news. Like you're playing the Tinker deck, this Meddling Mage shows up, you're like, oh no.
Yeah. All right, are we gonna take a quick break before the finals?
Yeah, I'm turning off my
jumping in?
camera. I'm taking a break. We'll
right.
be back in a couple of minutes, everyone.
you're good on cuts and all that if you want.
All right, everybody. We've had two 2-0 victories, and here we are. This is kind of the battle of champions. We were talking about this as we closed off. Both of these decks have a lot of pedigree. They both won previous leagues. We both had finals of previous leagues be mirror matchups between these decks. So we're gonna settle it now, once and for all. Is it Elves or is it Blue-White Landstill? What is the best deck in middle school? What do we think, Andrew?
I don't know. I think it's like I said. I think we said before the break. I think this is pretty close. Like, I mean, Elves will definitely get under the counter magic, and then but then Luke's got to clean up with a Wrath. But the risk of that is like if his opponent can Geddon him, I think it's just lights out. I think it's a pretty interesting matchup. And Wirewood Symbiote also does a pretty good job of like protecting at least one of your guys from the Wrath. So I don't know. I think it's pretty close. And like I'm not sure that it really changes much post board for either player. So like I don't know. I think it's a really close matchup, and I'm kind of.
I don't think so. So once again, whenever cards like Standstill are in people's deck, play draw becomes very important. So it's not clear to me who's got that here, but yeah, Standstill really heavily advantages you for being on the play. And the Elf deck has a lot of moving pieces.
So I think he's on the draw. So
ooh, okay. On the draw. So there's no survival in this Elf deck, but it does have a lot of card draw engines with Sylvan Messenger and Symbiote bouncing and replaying the Messenger. This Standstill deck doesn't have as many Wastelands. I think it just has Dust Bowls instead of Wastelands. Like when I played Standstill, I had a bunch of Wastelands, so I would just blow up people's guys' cradles. But here, the guy's cradle can kind of go unmolested, I think, the way this Standstill deck is architected. Let me double check that. And if I double check, I will find a...
Yeah, I think there's just one Dust Bowl. I don't think there are any.
Ooh, yeah, so... Okay, Elves is keeping things on book. Forest, Llanowar, Elf. There's no plow on that Elf. If I had Plains plow, I would have done it. You know, like we definitely just we want, as the Landstill deck, well, we always want to slow the game down, but we want to make sure that we don't get steamrolled way early in the game. And so a way to do that would be to plow the Elf. I would definitely do that.
Symbiote here on turn 2, but no Acolyte, which is good for Luke.
Okay. Yeah, so potentially next turn we could set up Messenger, but with this double blue, that indicates something. Oh man, Luke. So he's got all these altars, and then we're playing like some of the best basic island art. I love this. Is this Mirage? I think
he's got like one of each Mirage art.
Yeah,
island,
me too. Luke, you are a man of quality. I can tell.
Yeah, the Mirage basics across all basic land types are pretty great, honestly. Mirage had some great basics.
Yeah, I think they're definitely like they keep printing like these weird alternate Japanese warped, miscut, chromed. But yeah, it's really hard to beat just the Mirage basics. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. Mike is just like, I call. What do you got for me, buddy? We're just moving in right now. We're just going for the Geddon. We left up this 2 blue. Was it a bluff? You know, we've literally done nothing surprised. This is a really aggressive Armageddon.
It is, but 2 lands.
You know, yeah. I think Mike knows what the game's about, and I assume this is a counterspell that's being played.
No, it's an impulse. I mean, no, it's a accumulated knowledge.
What? There's accumulated knowledge in this list?
Yeah, there's 4 accumulated knowledge.
What? Why have we not seen any of these in the prior games?
He did discard some of them to hand size in the previous match.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
right, so
well,
force a bullet after.
Doesn't matter. Okay. You know, we didn't want that to happen. All right,
yeah, but I mean, you're pretty happy with that exchange, probably, if your opponent 2-for-1s himself.
Yeah, we got it. We got a 2-for-1. Maybe we've got a sweet follow-up like Deranged Hermit or Sylvan Messenger to really just run up the score on the board here. Though our Landstill player is getting closer and closer to 4 mana, which is always a suspicious amount from blue-white control. But what are we doing here? We've got good 4-drops in our deck. Yeah, get it. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Casting Armageddon. Our opponent didn't have counterspell last turn. We're gonna cast another accumulated knowledge.
Kind of looks like
Impulse. Looking for the force. This is pretty stressful. Yeah, this Armageddon card, real good. And now we've tapped. This is actually kind of interesting. The decision to tap what I think was the planes.
No, it's not planes. It's a that's a Mishra's factory. He's got.
It's a factory. Okay. So we don't actually have any white mana. Weird. Okay.
Don't have any mana anymore.
Yeah, if the elf deck has been slow rolling a land, they're just way ahead, and they can just rebuild very quickly. And so the elf deck does have a land, so they're two steps ahead. And our Landstill deck has not played any white mana yet, because the way we break out of this is by plowing the symbiote to start with, for example, and that is not possible.
Yeah, another land.
Yeah. So and now we could potentially have access to. Well, we will have access to 4 mana next turn. So the elf deck really doesn't care. Just stayed on plan, stayed on message. Cast the Armageddon. Your lands, destroy them.
It's like untap blue mana. Let's see. Prove it.
Yeah,
prove that you've got it. So
yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have a lot of. He's down to 1 card, and he's got 3/1/1s, but that might be enough,
Yeah, we need a single factory to stop the beats, but these 3/1/1s can come across for a couple of turns. And if we have like any sort of follow up here, like a lord or a messenger or an acolyte, okay, that's a big part of it. Do we have anything else going on? This is indicating probably not. Okay, get the symbiote out of here. Okay, that helps. The cradle is less powerful, and now our subsequent spells could be relevant. So yeah, Mike's still. Yeah, it's totally up in the air. Mike has no follow up, so this is the window we need as the Landstill deck. At step 1, have more lands in our hand. Okay, we've accomplished that part of the. Oh, and that's a factory, I think.
Yeah.
All right, so the beatdown is over. The burden is back to the elf deck to present more.
Yeah.
But the elf deck is set up to do that. We've got all the mana in the world. We can cast all of our spells here. We're doing some counting.
He cannot cast a Deranged Hermit. He's 1 mana short of that.
No. Aren't we good? The 1, 2. 5 mana. Yeah, we're good. We can Hermit. We can cast anything in our deck. So first we're gonna rumble in. No, we've got to be casting something. Acolyte. Our symbiote just got killed, but that's still fine. This gives us a mana for the cradle and lets us draw into our deck. And I don't think we can afford
to tap the elves there.
Well, now
I guess they can't
get a rebate on the cradle. So if we drew a messenger, we could potentially play it.
Right.
All right. Well, our plan. A part of our plan is our Landstill opponent not having a lands, and that did not happen.
Yeah, did not work out. Yeah.
So
it's kind of surprising because he didn't play a single white source, and then
maybe he's playing around the Armageddon. He's just like, I've only got 1 white source. I can't afford to lose it. I'm just gonna hold on to it. But yeah,
looks like he's taking some mana burn from his cradle.
Yeah. All right, so both players just have tons of lands. Profitably. No, the factory just brick walls everything. So we need to put more into the board to make something happen.
Yeah, I thought that Geddon was going to be better than it was. Yeah, I thought that Luke might miss a land.
Well, we didn't have that much in play,
right?
Okay, so symbiote. This demands action. If the symbiote resolves, then we can.
Now we can attack.
Yeah, now we can just attack. We're gonna bounce this guy anyway.
Yeah.
Damned if we do, damned if we don't. Yeah. So this is a big deal. Yeah, we just take it, especially if we have counterspell in our hand, we just take it.
How many cards does Luke have left? I mean, like just seems so. No
Luke's got a lot. I think
counterspell
that's a stack. You know, there's several
Yeah.
cards in hand.
Yeah. None of them are
Whereas Mike has
counterspell.
played out all his cards because he's playing a bunch of creatures, but none of them are counterspell, or maybe they are. We're putting this card onto the stack.
Well, it seems like
None
you
of those
wouldn't have
cards
let
are
the symbiote
counterspell or
resolve, I
Stars to
think.
Plushers. Okay, well, in that case, if the fact that we're not doing anything, okay, we're just cycling to draw. Ooh, the sign of weakness.
Yeah. So this is what you want to see as the elf player.
Okay, yeah, the elf player plan is coming together. We've got our Howling Mine, our Landstill opponent spinning the wheels. They might have some powerful 4-drops strapped in their hand. Okay, that is not double white. So I hope maybe there's a factor fiction. We're definitely the game is slipping away as the Landstill player at this point.
Yeah, and one thing he can do is end a turn bounce the acolyte if he wants to.
Yeah.
Unless he wants to try to attack with it.
What are we doing? Well, I mean, we could play a standstill because the elf deck can't profitably attack, and if they want to activate their engine, they have to cast a spell. Standstill
Right.
is a reasonable play to make under this board, and Luke agrees with me. So this will, yeah, we can't just rumble in.
Yeah, I mean you
Because
can
we'll
still
just
attack with
lose our
all your
game.
elves and then just bounce whichever one he blocks. But then I guess you're
Yeah,
then you're
but
like
then
gonna
we have to
replay your
replay that
cards.
elf, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, standstill's looking good. We can't win under this deal. But yeah, we definitely don't attack with the symbiote because that just gets picked off. And now we just, you know, we call with the factory. Whatever gets blocked is going to get bounced. Yeah, we have the factory pump itself.
The symbiote also gets to untap an elf, right?
Yep.
How that works.
Yep. It's not just bounce guy back to your hand. It has more text,
Yeah.
but wait, there's more.
Yeah. Just the bounce guys back to your hand is like the part that always is the only part that ever seems to matter.
Yeah. Okay. So we did not replay into the still. Mike possibly correctly suspects that there aren't a lot of lands sitting in Luke's hand and thinks that we can get into a scenario where Luke might be forced into discard maybe. But right now,
he's only got like 3 cards in hand though.
This favors Luke. Mike can't really attack, and we're giving Luke time to get his feet under him. This is exactly, you know, this is really weird in a game where Armageddon resolved, but the board state is what we want to see as the Landstill player.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's at a relatively low life total. It says we got him an 8.
8, yeah, but there's no good attacks. Like we can't like alpha through, you know, several turns in a row without playing spells.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have probably just wanted to crack the standstill last turn and just jam the acolyte back.
Yeah, our opponent was tapped out. It was we could just cracked in and just put some more threats on the board and hope it plays, especially if any of those threats draw cards. Because now if we have like a really good payoff, like a Sylvan Messenger, it can just get sniped by a counter spell.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he was setting up for a turn where we could like deploy more things at once. He's probably going to try the acolyte first.
Yeah, go with the acolyte. So this is tricky. Like if we draw a plow, we can just plow the symbiote in response and let the acolyte stick around because we have to get rid of the symbiote at some point anyway. I would be, if we let the acolyte resolved, our opponent can bounce it and replay it. So the acolyte actually represents like 2 cards, not just 1 card. So yeah, if we don't draw a plow or humility or something like that, I would be inclined to counter this, even though our opponent has just like unlimited mana. This is a tough call, but Mike only has 2 other cards in hand. They haven't been great.
Yeah, I mean, 1 card he drew. Well, he might have drawn the fetch land this turn.
Yeah. But yeah, this because of the symbiote, the acolyte represents a lot of value.
Yeah. Well, and even if he's got a humility's not the best here.
No,
either.
humility doesn't
Very
work
yeah.
because we're at this low life total, so we could actually
Right.
lose to 1/1s if our
Right.
card is humility, and we have to take damage of our dark wastes. So
Yes,
humility
exactly.
could potentially not work out.
Oh, so this resolving seems really good for Mike.
Yeah. Now, so if we have land wrath, it's not terrible. But yeah, what do we got? We
Maybe
got
just bouncing
all
and
this
replaying,
mana.
right?
Our opponent isn't counting things. Luke several times has been called and then like revealed to have like a weak hand.
Yeah.
But I would strongly suspect.
Okay.
Okay, wow. So yeah, that sucks. So we really get to go off with Acolyte.
Yeah.
Just go
The float
berserk.
5, bounce it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Wrath is only gonna be a 3-for-1 after our opponent has just like powered through. Yeah,
Right.
now that the white mana, by the way, is tapped out, if there's a counter spell, I don't know, I would counter the Acolyte on the second time down or something like that, because we don't have to worry about getting Geddon. Our opponents played a land and
Right.
tapped their white source. Plow under.
Oh, plow
Okay,
under.
Plow under. So there is another pseudo Geddon effect in the deck. So far, Plow under has been a little underwhelming, but it's definitely a real Magic card right now. And Luke is rewarded for being disciplined. Because now,
Yeah, that would have been lights out. You could have buried the white source 2 cards.
yeah, we can do some stuff. We can still get things going on. But yeah, that was good on Luke for being so disciplined, and sniffing out that there was some haymaker in the works here.
Is he attacking with the 2/1/1s?
No, he's gonna tap them both for mana and then bounce the Acolyte.
No, I think he's attacking.
He's attacking.
It seems very odd. I thought he would have just replay the Acolyte.
Yeah, I'm a little lost on this one. Okay, so we get in chip shot 1 damage. Yeah, like that. We just got in for 1. Okay. So Luke, now's the time, Luke. If we have Wrath, it is time to play Wrath. And it can't be humility. It's got to be
Got to be
Wrath.
white source Wrath, right? I mean,
We got white. Well, we just drew like a whole bunch of extra cards, so we could have bricked, but white source Wrath is what we're looking for.
has he played? Played a Wrath already?
No, there hasn't been a Wrath. And there's been a bizarre dearth of white sources. I'm suspecting that white source is that a Wrath is in hand, but not a white source, based on these hand gestures. Right. Yeah, we don't even have any other land. Ooh.
Oh, that's
okay. Well, if we don't have land, we've got to have counterspell for this Acolyte. We're gonna rumble in with some guys, some elves. We're gonna bounce the Acolyte, and then we're gonna counterspell the Acolyte on the way down.
All right, I am gonna have to find some headphones because my headphones died. So
okay.
Well, one of my headphones died. I guess I can ride out this one for a little while.
Okay, so more Acolytes. Yeah, the elf deck is just squeaking out incremental advantages here. And yeah, we're spinning our wheels. We said, it didn't look like the Armageddon made a big difference, but now we're just like not making land drops and falling further and further behind. I don't know what that is.
I think that's Hive Master. I think it makes a 1/1 whenever you play an elf.
Okay. Well, we can definitely play a lot of elves.
Not sure about that.
So we're not playing counterspells. We're not playing plows. Maybe Luke's hand is just like all like double white spells, and we just like can't get anything going on. We're gonna rumble in to make it to where if there's a factor fiction lurking in the works, we can't just like fire that off. So this is really tough. Okay, plow. Yep. So we got to get one of these symbiotes out of here.
That's an Elvish champion. It's not a.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't recognize this art at all. Okay, well then, yeah, the Elvish champion has got to get out of here.
Well, he just gets bounced.
Mm-hmm. Now we're gonna block. If a symbiote attacked, I think we block the. I would block the symbiote that hasn't activated yet. That would have been. That's really tight on the life here, but yeah, that might have been what I would have wanted to do. I'm not sure. So we'd have taken one more damage and been at 2. That's tough, especially clearly our out. It's like I clear. Yeah, actually going into 2 is rough because that turns off Flooded Strand as an out. So
Right.
yeah, we're kind of forced into this. All right. Well, we're not
Most of
slamming
your
land
white
onto the
sources
table. I think we're
give
dead.
you 1 point.
Okay, if another factory, I don't think that's good enough. I think we get Elfid. No sweepers. That's one way to lose to Elves. That'll definitely happen.
Yeah. I mean, he notably only plays 3, so I mean, it's not like you have unlimited
That's
effect.
true, but we've cracked a standstill, and it's way late in the game. It's not unreasonable that we would have had one, and
Yeah,
I
he
think that we
actually never
did, and
found
we
a
just
second
never drew
white
the
source
second
in
white
all of
source.
those cards. Yeah. Like the first, he
Yeah.
got
So
biorhythm in his. Still had the biorhythm. The
yeah. So
yeah, I mean that's pretty crazy to not hit the second white source with how many cards he saw, because the Geddon hit 2 blue sources in a factory, 2 islands in a
yeah.
factory.
So there we go. Elf deck stays on message, slow but steady wins the race. Now Standstill gets to be on the play. I don't think either deck massively improves. They're both going to be executing their same game plan. Uh, there's not a lot going on. It is amusing that I think the Elf deck actually has a blowout. These Caller of the Claws really check Wrath. You can't just like throw your Wrath out willy nilly. I think that even with Humility in play, if you play Coat of Arms, your creatures are still Elves. They're just Elves with no text. So if we wanted to go that route, we could. And I'm not sure Coat is what we want to be doing, but these
Yeah,
Caller of the Claws for sure are coming in.
I'm actually not sure like what the code's there for. Like I'm trying to think of like when you want the coat of arms.
I think that Mike is just continuing on the for the memes game plan, and sometimes you
Sure,
take out the
yeah.
biorhythm and bring in Coat of Arms.
I like that. I like that swap in this matchup. I think that's fine. It does do something against humility, maybe if we understand the rules, which I don't. But
Yeah. So the Elf deck has naturalizes for humility, though if we saw in that game, if you go wide enough humility, it doesn't matter. We definitely have Collar of the Claw for Wrath. Um, we have Steely Resolve to stop our guys from getting plowed. I don't think that's worth it. There's only 4 plows in the deck. So yeah, naturalized Collar of the Claw. That's about it, really.
yeah,
And
I don't like bringing the naturalize in.
yeah, it's really rough to have not Elves in your deck. But actually, I like to naturalize more because note how good the factory was at blocking. If you have naturalize, you can blow up the factory. So actually, I think it's better than we think it is.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, and actually, I think he also has 2 winter orbs in his sideboard, which are great.
Am I keep
They're
looking
like
at the
more
wrong
Armageddon.
version of this list? Yeah, they're 2 winter orbs. Okay, so as the Landstill deck, we know that there are winter orbs. We have to have some extra disenchant effects because winter orb is incredibly frustrating to play against. Um, the card Exalted Angel is actually pretty sweet since our opponent can't afford to bring in any removal. Um,
Yeah.
Another Humility is okay, but I think actual sweepers might even be better than Humility. It's not clear to me, but I think if our opponent's like a 30 creatures in it, Humility is probably good. Some disenchants for the Winter Orb, and I would have a pretty light touch on sideboarding. Once again, I think 3 Decree of Justices. We could definitely cut one, especially if we might replace one with the Exalted Angel, which I think is much more impactful. After that, like Forbid.
Yeah. I mean,
Forbid costs 3
I think
mana.
decrees
That's a
get a little
lot.
better if you do bring in the second humility, but
That's true.
just because your opponent does go pretty wide.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think you only want to bring in like
Um,
maybe 3 cards. Like you might bring in like one Disenchanter Seal. Like I'm not even sure if you bring in the Disenchanter Seal. You have
yeah,
no artifacts or enchantments main deck. Like you're bringing it in for just the 2 sideboard Winter Orbs. But you
yeah. So
probably
you could
can't
just
really
bring in
beat
one of
that.
those and just hope that your your counter spells catch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think both of these have a pretty light touch on sideboarding. Like and the elf deck, yeah, the Winter Orb is definitely a very frustrating card to play against as Landstill.
Yeah.
Landstill's on the play. That really actually wasn't even that important in the previous matchup. Really, I think our Landstill player just had a suboptimal draw was a big part of it.
Yeah.
The never having 2 blue counterspell for the Wrath, we had to for the Armageddon, we had to force and then just let it resolve. Never finding a second white source. I feel like we, sometimes it breaks that way. The elf
Yeah.
player did a good job of managing the board and keeping the pressure on at all times, and
Yeah. And
understanding when to crack stand still, and when to hang back.
yeah. And Mike's draw was like kind of interesting because he didn't really have a lot going on. He had like 2 Llanowar Elves and a Wirewood Symbiote, and then 2 Armageddons. So he just like kept that hand purely on the fact that it had 2 Armageddons. And it worked out, right?
Yep.
Because the second one resolved. Um, so yeah, I mean the games could play very differently than that because like that was kind of like a slow hand from Elves, but he had 2 Geddons. Um, so
Yeah, well, I mean, he had his like best card in the matchup, which is
right,
Armageddon
for
for
sure.
sure. So I think that's a reasonable keep. Uh,
Yeah, I think I'd keep
for
it too. I
we
mean,
had
it's
a
just like kind
plan.
of an
Mike
unusual
Mike has
draw.
been very consistent about his plan. Play elves, cast Armageddon. Like
Right.
it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what else is going on in the game. Mike is going to be putting Armageddon onto the stack. Um,
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
did Luke just go dark for you?
No, I can still see Luke. You might just need to
All
refresh
right,
it.
hold on. All right, Luke is back for me. It just like froze for a second or something. All right, so Luke's on the play. I don't think either deck is going to make any large changes. There's Winter Orb.
Chat, I think you're asking about the card in Luke's sideboard. I think it's Thrawn Foundry. It's just another. It's basically another option for graveyard hate that can also shuffle your own library graveyard back in if you want. Um, if that's the card you're looking at under Tormod's Crypt.
All right, can you see me? I just okay, cool. Thanks. Sorry about that. Just my internet just randomly decided to. It's actually the network card on this computer just occasionally turns itself off for reasons that I cannot comprehend. But I think we're good to go now. Okay, so it looks like Landstill might be mulliganing, which is sad news for blue-white players everywhere. But we've got a lot of ways to recoup that.
Yeah, I don't think he's necessarily hurting for cards. Although this can be a pretty attrition-y matchup because the Elves deck can draw a lot of cards also.
Yeah, when the Elf engine, symbiote plus various elves can result in the Elf deck drawing a bunch of goodies here. So both decks do have ways to hang in the late game. And it looks like Elves is happy, but Landstill's mulligan.
And Rob, who is coordinating the stream, pointed out to me before this match that Mike was in the finals of the last league and got second. So I think he's looking
He's
to redeem
hungry.
himself. But Luke also got second like a couple leagues ago, so I think they're both looking for that victory.
All right. Oh, I've been informed that there is no coat of arms, so there's no memes for us. There, for some bizarre reason, we've been shipped 2 copies of this list, and one of them is just like complete nonsense. So ignore only pay attention to the text version of the list. Ignore the picture of the list.
Yeah, I think Rob told me he converted the text version, but I think he converted it to the cards he wanted to be in the deck instead of the cards that were
Yeah.
actually in the deck.
All right. Landstill goes to 6, opens on Coastal Tower. I like Sky Shroud Expanse over Coastal Tower, but that's how I built the deck. Both is okay. Yeah, and yeah, Coastal Towers is this weird card, and there's some confusion. Hey, what's going on here? Comes into play tapped all the time, every time.
Yeah, I mean, most of the Landstill decks play like one or two of either Sky Shroud, Expanse, or Coastal Tower. The Sky Shroud Expanse can be pretty awkward on like turn 2 if you need to make double blue or something. But,
Yeah,
it does not ever.
and Sky Shroud Expanse, the way it works, like you can end up mana burning yourself if you're not careful with Sky Shroud Expanse. So that is a relevant thing that could happen.
All right, Standstill against the 1 elf.
Okay, that's fine. We can afford to get swung on for 19 turns in a row before we do something.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious to see. I think Mike is probably just going to jam right into it.
Yeah, I think so too. I would be, yeah, I'd be inclined to do that. The early turns of the game really set things up so much.
Yeah.
Just seeding those to Standstill is a steep cost.
Yeah. Standstill like just like begs people to stop playing spells, and that's like usually the wrong thing to do.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the Hive Master. So
Yeah.
this is a really good thing. If we have a follow up, we can start making extra insects every time we cast an elf. So this is all right.
Yeah. See if he has another land and can play another spell this turn. A Cradle, especially.
Yeah, Cradle would be pretty baller with the Hive Master. I think that Luke has to look up Hive Master. He's like, wait, what is happening here? There's bugs in your deck. I thought it was elves. It's got squirrels and bugs. What is happening? You should call your deck vermin.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting card. Like you don't see it in a lot of elves decks. I know, like I played elves in one event, and I did not play Hive Master in my list, but it does make a very wide board very quickly.
Yeah, it lets you go wide really quickly, but it like doesn't get pumped by your effects because you have pump effects that pump elves.
Right.
However, in Pro Tour Berlin, where we had a whole bunch of elves decks with Glimpse of Nature, it was really powerful because it created all these green creatures and it let you cord in the middle of your combo turn. But the Cord and Glimpse of Nature are like not in this format, so it just in this metagame it just makes some dudes. You just some more like even your Tribal Force Major Overrun person doesn't interact well with the insects. So
yeah, you can name insect on it. You get to choose a creature type.
Okay.
So it's a little weird. I think if I'm remembering how Tribal Force Mage works correctly.
Okay, it's a bit better.
I don't think it says elves. I think it names a creature type, but is itself an elf.
Yeah, so this is a bit rough. Like if we're swordsing the Hive Master.
Yeah, that means we don't have a wrath. Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's the strong. There is no wrath here, citizens. Yeah. Tell because otherwise we just want to save our swords for like symbiotes, basically.
Yeah, I'm just like ready to vomit my hand. Like maybe it's like just a great juke, but if I'm sitting in Mike's seat, I'm just ready to vomit my hand on the board after I see that play.
Mike has been very into calling his opponents. You know, Mike has not hesitated to just put his chips into the red zone and let it sort itself out. You know.
Yeah, I mean, but like I think in a lot of these situations, there's not really another option for him. Like, what is he going to do? Like, sit on this Armageddon? Because if you have the counter spell now, you got it next turn too. So.
Yeah, the way the deck is constructed, I definitely feel like that's the way we want to play it. Oh, and are we going to cast Armageddon right now? What is this third land? We've got Coastal Tower Plains. What's the third land? Is it Flooded Strand or what is that?
That might be a Wasteland.
A Wasteland? Like okay, so Counterspell is off the table.
Let me see.
I doubt Prohibit is still in the deck, but maybe it is. So we could just like
Prohibit can't hit Armageddon anyway.
Oh, Prohibit? I thought Prohibit was like
you got to pay the kicker to hit Armageddon.
What? No, I thought Prohibit was like I'm thinking of something else. Okay, we're
casting counter spell can run a mana cost 2 or less.
Oh, okay. All right, so we're doing it. We're gonna force a will something. This accumulated knowledge card is, I have to say, not being very impressive.
Yeah, I don't like that card in this deck. Like it's
I
a card that I want to be good in this format because it was like good once upon a time, but
yeah.
I just haven't. I feel like every time I see someone play it, they draw one once, and then like 1 out of 5 times someone draws two once, and then that's the best it gets.
Yeah, like you need to be playing like a degenerate deck with like intuitions and like you have this backdoor other option of intuition for AK. But yeah, I would be happier with Luke's list if these accumulated knowledges. He's got 4 slots taken up by AK. 2 of them could be the 2 more impulses, and the other 2 could be some other spells. I think.
Some discussion happening on what land this is, which is a cradle.
This is a cradle. He's got.
Yeah.
After flexing with like this judge foil cradle. Oh, by the way, I've got this weird. But we can't really say anything about any altars on Mike's side of the field. Since Luke's, we're constantly asking ourselves, what's going on over there, Luke? What's going on?
Yeah, Luke's deck is like almost entirely altered. It's like kind of weird because like some of the only cards that aren't altered in his deck are his basic lands.
Yeah, he's got these beautiful basic islands, and then the rest of his deck is a mystery. So this is really dangerous. Luke needs to have Wrath.
Yeah, for sure.
Wrath would shut off the cradle. There's definitely some pressure on the board. Luke needs to answer that, and awkwardly, Humility does not answer that. the way the table is looking, Humility would not work, and there's no fourth land.
Fourth
no,
land,
yeah. Okay, so Luke is just having some bad beats because we did crack a standstill and just not find lands. It'd be that way sometimes.
Right. Yeah. He's definitely running pretty bad in this match on hitting his land drops.
We're gonna play a Sylvan Messenger. There's still no double blue. So last game there's no double white for Wrath. This game there's no double blue for Counterspell. Here is a champion.
Champion.
Yeah. So if we've got a plow, we can send the Elvis champion farming before we get beat on for some damage. I suspect that we might have like a cycle decree for 0 or something. This is rough, Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he might be sitting on the Wrath, but I think he needs another white source.
No, I thought we had Plains and Coastal Tower and Wasteland.
Oh, Oh, that's Plains Coastal Tower. Okay.
Yeah. So if we draw a land, we could clean up the board really conveniently. But this turn, we're just gonna get punked for a bunch of damage.
Yeah, taking 7.
Yeah. Ouch. Yeah. This is real. This demands we do something. Mike doesn't have any incentive to really make any other plays. The burden is on Luke to answer the board here.
Right. Seems like he's thinking about playing another Cradle just based on
I don't think we do anything. As the elf player, everything we need is on the board. We are just gonna let that talk for us.
There's a cycle decree for 0.
Calling like our hand is not coming together. Come on, deck. Okay, cracking Flooded Strand. We get an island, and if we Wrath, we're actually doing really well. The guy's cradle is turned off. We can't get Geddon next turn. There's no way for a Caller of the Claw to be played. Wrath is what we're looking for. And yeah, we can't tap this mana fast enough. Okay. Yeah, this is what we needed to get back into this game. We got the 3-for-1. There's no symbiote to protect our creatures. It's kind of a 4-for-1 because we turned off the guy's cradle. We can't be threatened with Armageddon the way the mana base has worked out. So this is turning the corner. Yeah, play a Findhorn Elf. Sure. Pass.
Oh, and pass?
Okay.
What is in his hand that he's not playing?
I don't know.
Just lands, stand value?
We definitely, it could just be creatures, and he sniffed out the Wrath, which is pretty obvious. How do I lose Wrath? Well, I can't commit any more creatures, but due to the guy's cradle mana, maybe we couldn't play a lot of creatures that last turn.
Yeah. Is it just he's got deranged hermits in his hand? All
right. Well, it doesn't matter. We're playing Standstill.
No, that's
No.
a AK.
Okay, AK drew 2 cards. Confirmed broken.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
he's gonna draw all of his AKs now because we trash talked him.
Yeah, we
So
did.
like
We
just
just
gonna get
talked too
shown
much
up.
trash, and now AK is going to take over the game.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Okay, let me go hit that. Yeah, what is going on? Okay,
Seal cleansing. All right, so he was scared of the winter orb. He brought in the seal cleansing. All right, it's got to be like messenger or deranged hermit. Like what else is sitting in your hand? So hoping to see one of those two cards.
just weird internet issues over here. Okay, good. So Seal of Cleansing, which could potentially do nothing, but Winter Orb is so crippling when our entire plan is to, play lands and tap lands. 5, are we getting Plow Undered or are we getting Deranged Hermit? Uh, Deranged Hermit, which really demands Wrath. Humility doesn't work, so we need. Yeah, we're just gonna force this. This is a 9 power. This is a lot of damage, and it makes the guy's Cradle super good.
Yeah, he's still thinking about what he's gonna lose.
All right. Forbid. Yeah, get out of here.
Got 3 cards left. Yeah, you have to
Right.
presume that Mike has like another hermit or a messenger in hand.
Yeah, there's what was the hermit, the bait spell, as they say.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, he had tapped out. Like I think he was hoping to resolve that. I
Yeah.
think that's probably his best spell.
I mean, yeah, hermit is just like GG next turn if there's no wrath.
Yeah.
So that's
Right.
pretty strong one to lead on. So you have another land. That means that we can cycle Decree for 2. We could potentially cast Rout, which is probably still in our deck because Wraths are just good against our opponent's 30 creature deck. But in classic Landstill fashion, we'll just say go. I would be disinclined to wasteland the Cradle.
Yeah, I think you need your mana too much to
Though
do
it is
that.
interesting to note, we could have wastelanded the Cradle and hoped that there was not another Cradle or another land in Mike's hand, and then he couldn't have paid the upkeep on the Hermit. But the 4 squirrels were problematic enough as it was, so I don't think that's like a line that you can take.
I mean, he's at 8, so
Yeah.
I think you can.
It's like giving your opponent 4 power with the squirrels is a big deal.
Luke thinking about something.
Well, we're fetching, so
Fetching. Okay.
I mean, if we're gonna play something, I would not wasteland just because Guy's Cradle is legendary. There could easily our opponent has passed without making plays. There could easily be just another Cradle in their hand.
Well, he tanked one turn like with his hand on the top of his Cradle, which maybe
Yeah.
he was thinking of playing another one.
So I also think that there's another Cradle running around, but we could just be like hallucinating that.
Yeah, we probably are. He did not play one. He's tapping his
Okay.
elf, so
Well, I mean, if we're tapping for Armageddon, okay, no, Sylvan Messenger. All right, show us a counter spell. If we discarded the Forbid, usually it means we have like a better counter spell in our hand. Okay, Factor Fiction. All right. So both players are going to draw a bunch of cards this turn, most likely. Okay, so
there's the AK.
There's the AK. Okay, and a counter spell. So yeah. This is a tough split, and also splitting cards is very hard on camera, and it's even harder when the cards are all altered. So I do not envy Mike as they decipher this Factor Fiction, which is Fairy Conclave, Accumulated Knowledge, which is the 3rd AK, Prohibit, Mishra's Factory, which is very relevant because that blocks all of our creatures, and Counterspell, which is like a strictly better Prohibit. So
I don't know how you split this. This is rough.
This is rough. And the thing is, the lands are so powerful. We don't want to just discount the lands. So we definitely keep the lands and the AK separate. I don't know, man. This is hard. This is hard.
I don't hate that split.
Yeah. And if you're the Landstill player, just pick up the lands. Like whatever pile has lands is the pile I'm putting into my hand.
I mean, the AK presumably finds you land, but I don't know if you want to gamble on that.
Yeah. So I mean, it also depends on the rest of my hand. We've got 2 cards in our hand. If there's no removal in my hand, no removal whatsoever, then I might be inclined to keep the card with AK. Because then, but we're just picking up the lands. Maybe the 4th AK is in our hand. Maybe
naturally. That's how AK works.
Yeah.
It's just there.
All right. On the other hand, our opponent is just like doing it all. So yeah, we get a Quarian Ranger and an Elvish Champion. Yeah. Oh yeah. Both of those lands were man lands. Yeah, I would just take both the lands as the Landstill player. If there's a land here, we can play a land and the Quarian Ranger and like untap our Fendhorn Elf. Whoop! Hey.
All right, we were not wrong.
Yeah, we're so smart. We're so smart.
All right.
Yeah.
So he can make 2 more mana by untapping a Quarian Ranger.
Yeah.
One floating.
Okay.
But I presume that he does not have a 2 mana spell in his hand because the way the previous turn played.
I think we're just taking mana burn. Okay, so nope. We're bouncing. We're doing something. Or no, we're just rumbling in. Yeah. Get him.
That makes sense. It seems totally fine.
Yeah, for sure. Our opponent's at a kind of low. We actually have 4 power on the board, and our opponent is at 6. So we are really stressed to put Factory into play to block these creatures. So we definitely do that. If we have another Wrath or a Rout, we should definitely play that. And it looks like we do. If it's Humility, I'm less high on that. We play Humility, then we take 3. We could lose. We could lose if we cast Humility.
He's maybe reevaluating his jamming of Humility. And I mean, he's got a counter spell for the champion, so his land is a good blocker.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the how it cuts out on me here. Yeah, I can tell that.
So Luke tanking clearly has some sort of 4 mana sorcery speed spell, and I'm presuming that
like we're doing the math on Humility, and it's just like not coming together. We needed this manlands to show up like a turn earlier.
Yeah.
Also, I will
say Mike has so much mana because like you don't know what the other cards are lurking. Like you kind of have to counter this champion so you can block.
I will say that turns ago we wastelanded the Cradle. If we had not done that and still had this wasteland, we could tap it to cast Humility and leave up counterspell. That would make us feel a lot better about tapping out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like that wasteland was a little premature. Even if you and I, even if we didn't have that soul read, we really need our mana in this deck. So this is a very precarious position. And yeah, we basically are forced to have Plow or Counterspell on the champion. All right, yeah, we're just play out some more 1/1s. Hey, our opponent's at 6. These 1/1s are very relevant. Are we just like getting baited? What's happening?
Yeah, I'm not sure why I play the like. I guess like you're gonna play it anyway, but
maybe the other tell here is, yeah, we have to play the champion like pre-combat, so it's not like we get blown out by a decree no matter how we slice it here. So we lead with champion. That's got to get answered in some fashion. Uh-oh.
Sounds like there's something else going on.
I still feel like we lead. I feel like the champion has to be countered unless there's a Plow. So I would lead with the champion anyway, unless our man is just that. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Well, that's getting countered. I mean, funny story.
This is pretty rough for Luke because now he's got 2 spells he has to counter.
Yeah. We could just be dead. But yeah, we have to counter it. Like it doesn't even matter. We have to counter this. Then the champion shows up, and we just have to hope we have like Swords to Plowshares or another counter.
Yeah.
And actually, we can't cast another blue counter spell with our mana base.
Right.
So
We've got two unknown cards basically because we know he has a humility.
Yeah.
So
we're in a spot. We just have to counter it though. It just like doesn't matter. Counter spell. Like we can't let Armageddon resolve. It's the same as conceding the game.
So he still has mana to cast the champion.
It is important to and we'll get to attack with the mana elf because we have the Quarian Ranger. Because I was like, oh, that'll take the mana elf out of combat, but that doesn't work. So this is like do you have Swords to Plowshares? Because that Swords to Plowshares would let us to profitably block.
Yeah, it would actually be kind of a blowout.
Yeah, Swords would be a big blowout. I suspect the other card might be Decree of Justice. I think it's like Humility, Decree of Justice, and we just never got enough mana to play those cards. Rumbling in for.
I think he's dead.
Yeah, 7. Well, no, we can chump block with the factory, but we chump block with the factory,
but it's just not a good exchange.
Yeah, and then we hope to peel Wrath. It'd be that way.
I mean, you don't have to chump. I mean, I guess you can block and.
Oh no, the factory's sick. It just got played. Yeah. So it's just a 2/2. So we just like trade off with the Korean Ranger, I think, and the elf. It doesn't really matter. I think the Korean Ranger is the more high value target, and hope to peel Wrath because Humility doesn't do it. It's Wrath or bust.
Yeah,
we're looking at our life totals and we're dead. Yeah, we had Humility and Standstill. The elf player successfully deployed enough threats to keep the situation in check. So congrats to Mike.
Yeah, our Armageddon didn't resolve, but it still won that game.
yeah. Having two like basically pocket rockets at the end of the game was pretty good.
Right. Yeah. I mean, one of them was drawn off the Sylvan Messenger. So yeah, I mean, Luke was on the back foot like the whole game and missed some land drops. But yeah.
All right. Good job, Elves.
Yeah, congrats to Mike. Came back and got revenge for his second place finish last league. Just going to be a consistent finals participant.
Yeah, and it is worthy of note because we're having this survival or not to survival. He lost in the finals to Survival Elves, and it turned out the survival of the fittest is really powerful. There's no removal, so your mana creatures all live. And so as soon as your opponent resolves survival in the mirror, they just went and got Masticore and killed all your creatures. And the games were like really lopsided.
Yeah, and Armageddon is like a really bad card in the mirror matchup. So the mirror matchup, I think clearly survival is where to be. But I think Armageddon closes the door a lot harder than survival does.
It does.
Gives you like the ally mind.
And it lets you beat combo decks. Most combo decks need mana to execute their combo. So blowing up all their lands is a way to stop combo decks from killing you as the elf deck. So
definitely something some of the survival decks do is play Tangle Wire as their way to do the same thing. But it eats up a lot. You're eating up 8 slots at that point.
That's a lot.
But anyways, a great top 4, and thanks everyone for watching.
All right, I think that we're gonna talk to Mike very briefly, and then close out.
Sounds good.
All right, I'll turn on the sound in in his OBS, so I'll hear him through that.
Sounds good.
Oh,
I don't know if I can move my camera here. Hold on, you might be able to see my face. This might turn out poorly. My whole setup will collapse.
Tell Mike, I guess. Wow. Or we'll just talk through the Zoom, actually. Yeah.
Do they need me or we?
Just the same.
What did they say? I'm not sure.
Wow. Okay, I think I should be going through both Zoom and OBS at the same time. All right. Mike, say something. I'm not hearing you.
Yeah, I can't hear Mike either.
Unmute my Zoom. Got it. Got me now?
Yes, I can hear Mike.
Cool.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey there.
Well, congrats,
right.
Mike.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Just stayed with the, like 70 of the same 75. Had to prove that it was championship material.
Right. I just backed up the same thing and pushed it harder this time I tried.
Yeah, we observed that in your style of play. There was a lot of just pushing, throwing the cards out there and seeing what stuck.
Right. Yeah, I put both feet on the gas pedal. That's kind of how I have to do it. Count to 20 as fast as I can.
Yeah, we definitely agreed that was the way to approach the way to play your deck and approach these matchups, and it paid off. No, there was no coat of arms in the list. We kept looking at the wrong list, so don't worry about that, chat.
But he did have the biorhythm, a foil biorhythm, I think, if I saw correctly when you flashed.
Yeah, there's a nice biorhythm in here. I didn't get to play it the whole time though.
That's why biorhythm usually isn't in the deck.
Right, yeah, I think there's this shiny guy here. I picked him up just for it, yeah. Didn't do anything today.
Wah, wah, wah. Well, I mean, I think that's the thing. If you start winning, you have to put more and more janky cards into your deck to challenge yourself. It's too easy if you just play the stock, most efficient list. We've got to add a little flair.
Right, that's why there's 3 of everything in here.
Exactly. Except Landstill Elves, there's 8 of those.
Yeah, there's like 200 of them, I think. Feels like it. I love it. So
that deck's all Landstill Elves.
I think I might kick it to 4 champions if I do play another iteration of this. I think champion was my best card throughout this time through.
It's a good card, and if you anticipate a lot of mirrors, you can kind of fake people out and just like alpha them out of nowhere with the champion.
Yeah, I don't like the mirrors.
In a mirror, champion pumps their guys too. So
right, so it has to be the alpha. You have to play the champion and kill them that turn.
Yeah, no, it's got to be the slam.
All right. Yeah. Do you have any shout outs?
Did you feel like this matchup was favorable going into it?
I actually lost to Landstill earlier in this. I was a little worried about it. I think my last matchup was less favorable. This one I felt a little better going into it just because I know that there's like that middle ground where if I go real fast and they don't have the Wrath of God or just a straight line, I'm not real scared of humility. That's something that I just play a bunch of 1/1s and they're 1/1 insects or 1/1 nothings. It doesn't really matter. I still turn cards sideways. Wrath of God's the card I really watch out for. So I actually was holding cards back that one turn with a Cradle purposefully. I kept the Findhorn and the Deranged Hermit was in my hand too that he countered just in case. He's sitting there on 3 mana. I'm like, I know this is coming. So
yeah, it's a very ominous 4 mana. Something's up.
Exactly. Yeah. His forecast. Well, as soon as he didn't waste my Cradle, I'm like, all right, I know what he's trying to do. So
the jig is up.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, so you've won a spot in our invitational. Will you be able to make it down to Austin for that whenever that's being held? Kind of
that's the plan. Yes.
Great.
I'm still working. I have a pretty crazy work schedule. Got a thumbs up from my wife, and I'll try my best to get down there.
Well, we'd love to have you.
It was nice to meet some of you guys. I'm one of the Cleveland guys, so it was nice to meet some of you guys. Came up, played at Bottle House the other day. I was able to meet some people in person. It's pretty cool, actually. All this webcam stuff. It's nice to play on a table.
Very much so. And we have the honor of speaking with last year's champion Andrew, who punked me out in the finals. So there's a lot of bad blood on the stream.
Yeah, I chose to not pay any mana for any spells in Vintage, so
I got to dust off Vintage for myself. It's been a long time since I even really paid much attention to that. Middle school and Legacy were sort of my things. I like old school and play a little bit of Alpha, some of those real fringy formats. But yeah, if I'm playing Vintage, I got some homework to do.
Yeah, that's what I had not played Vintage when I qualified for it, like, ever. So I just played Bazaar at Baghdad and let Bazaar do all the work for me.
There's some fun iterations of stuff that looks like it's I don't know, the format looks like it's got a lot of fun options. I'll pick something out, we'll make it work. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Cool.
Yeah,
well, thanks for having me. It's always been a blast with you guys. I really do appreciate it. That's about all I got.
Look forward to seeing you in the next league. We'll see if you can make it 3 times in a row to the finals.
No, I might have to play something different for a minute. I don't want to gas myself on this, but I do like Elves. 20 years, they're my favorite. Maybe we'll play some blue ones or some red ones, but stuff with numbers. I know a lot of people don't like creatures, but it's always been my thing. Combat tricks and dumb cards, trying to win.
Yeah, you're making it look easy. So congrats again. Thanks for playing the league, and we look forward to seeing you in Austin for our invitational.
All right. Thanks again, guys. Take care.
Later. All right, that is it for our stream. Thanks for those who tuned in. I don't have anything interesting to say. Anything from you, Andrew, before we sign off?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, it was nice seeing you, man. It's weird that I've actually seen you, on stream commentating more than I've seen you in person when we live in the same town, but
Right,
I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, we'll get some in-person magic one of these days.
All right. Later, everyone.